Grace Miller's cheeks flushed a deep shade of crimson as she glared at him. Ethan Ford, you jerk. You're taking advantage of me again. Why was this guy so touchy-feely lately? Was he openly trying to cop a feel? She really needed to find a time to teach him a lesson. Hey, Grace, don't slander me. I could sue you for defamation, Ethan said with a look of righteous indignation. Tank, did you hear that? She's slandering my good name. Wayne Tank, Turner chuckled secretly. Ethan's got skin as thick as a tank's armor, he thought. I gotta take notes. As the three of them joked around, their homeroom teacher, Mr. Zane, known affectionately and fearfully as the Warlord, strode briskly into the room. The classroom instantly fell silent. Mr. Zane knocked on the podium, scanning the class before speaking in a serious tone. Today is the first day of the state boards. Math in the morning, English lit in the afternoon. Tomorrow morning is science, and tomorrow afternoon is history. Remember the schedule. Don't forget it. Make sure you have your admission tickets, IDs, and pencils ready. Don't make any last-minute mistakes. After we dismiss, head straight to your testing centers. Be safe on the road, and for heaven's sake, do not be late. Is that clear? The whole class shouted in unison, clear. Mr. Zane's expression softened, revealing a rare, kindly smile. After these exams, your days at Oak Creek High are numbered. Soon, you'll all be going your separate ways. I hate to see you go, truly, but I wish you all the best results. May your futures be bright. Mr. Zane's sincere words were simple but moving. A few sentimental girls in the class were already secretly wiping away tears. Ethan sighed inwardly. The Warlord. He's actually a pretty good guy. He was strict, sure, but he genuinely cared about his students. After Mr. Zane finished his instructions, he dismissed the class to head to the testing center. Ethan, Grace, and Tank were all assigned to the same testing location, Oak Creek High's main auditorium and gym complex, though they were in different sections. The three of them rode their bikes to the school entrance. A crowd of parents had already gathered, watching their children enter the school gates as if sending soldiers off to war. The parents' faces all held the same tension, their eyes filled with the same desperate hope. After entering the school grounds, the trio said their goodbyes. Tank, do your best. You got this. Ethan patted him on the shoulder. I will, Ethan. Tank nodded vigorously. Although his grades weren't stellar, he was hoping to get into a decent community college or maybe a state satellite campus. Just getting a degree would be a win. Ethan, you do your best too. I'll wait for you at the gate after the test. Grace raised a small fist, looking spirited and confident. Deal. Ethan smiled and nodded. After separating, they headed to their assigned rooms. Ethan found a section, sat down at the desk corresponding to his ID number. Soon, students trickled in, filling the single desks spaced widely apart. Once everyone was seated, a middle-aged female proctor walked in. As soon as the clock struck the hour, she began distributing the test booklets and reading the rules. The bell rang. The state boards had officially begun. All right, students, you may begin, the proctor announced. The room was immediately filled with the sound of scribbling pencils. Ethan skimmed through the entire math booklet. He already felt confident. This year's test wasn't particularly hard, and the big word problems were exactly within the scope he had studied. If he was careful, a perfect score shouldn't be a problem. Ethan smiled faintly and bent over his desk to begin. Time flowed slowly. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. Outside the school gate, countless parents stood in silence, too anxious to chat, craning their necks to see inside. A news van from a local station pulled up, the engine breaking the silence. A reporter and a cameraman hopped out. The reporter was a woman in her early 30s with shoulder-length hair, wearing a professional gray skirt suit. She had a slim figure and a pleasant face. Her appearance caused a stir among the waiting parents. Hey, isn't that Natalie Young from City Focus on Channel 5? What's she doing here? Huh, come interview me. I want to be on TV. Hey, it really is the City Focus team. They cover the exams every year. I didn't think they'd come here today. Interview me. Natalie Young heard the chatter, but ignored it. She did have an interview assignment today, but not the usual anxious parent angle. Every year, they interviewed parents who gave the same repetitive advice and expressed the same hopes. It was stale. So, before heading out, the production team had a meeting and decided to switch it up. Interview the students instead. Specifically, she wanted to interview the very first student to walk out of the exam. She wanted to know how they felt about this year's test. Will, how long has the exam been going? Natalie asked her assistant, Grant. We'll check his watch. Nat, exactly 1 hour. There's still 30 minutes left until the end. Natalie nodded and smiled. Good. Get the camera ready. We'll wait right here for the first student to come out. Uh, Nat, I doubt anyone's coming out this early. Should we take a break in the shade? Will wiped sweat from his forehead. It was scorching hot after a brief rain shower. The sun was blazing, making the air thick and muggy, like a sauna. Fine, go buy 2 bottles of water. Natalie was sweating too. She waved him off. You got it. Will ran off to buy water. Natalie and the cameraman ducked under the shade of a tree to cool off. But just as she sat down, she saw a student walking out of the building. There was no one else behind him. Huh, someone handed in their test already. Natalie was stunned. Quick, don't let him get away. Get over there and interview him. She didn't wait for Will. She grabbed the cameraman and rushed to the gate, blocking the student just as he exited. Hello, viewers. I'm reporter Natalie Young. Today, I'm interviewing the very first student to walk out of the exam hall. Hello there. I'm from Channel 5 City Focus. I'm Natalie. What's your name? Natalie put on her most professional, friendly smile and held the microphone to the student's mouth. Ethan Ford. Haha, nice to meet you, Ethan. First off, good luck with your exams. Thanks. Can I ask, why did you leave the exams so early? I finished writing. I didn't want to stay inside, so I came out, Ethan said with a smile. Natalie paused. Wow, this kid is bold. Okay. So, how did you find the difficulty of the math section this year? Honestly, pretty simple. Not hard at all, Ethan said truthfully. It was the truth. If it hadn't been that simple, he wouldn't have left the moment the early dismissal period began. It was actually much easier than he expected. He had finished in 40 minutes, but the rules said you had to wait an hour to leave. He had spent 20 minutes spinning his pencil out of boredom. The parents gathered nearby, heard Ethan's words, and looked at him with disdain. Which school is this kid from? So arrogant? Natalie was also bewildered. This young man, not very old, but he sure talks big. Well, this student certainly seems confident about the exams. Let's wish him a victorious start. Natalie offered a polite platitude, but internally she was skeptical. Is this kid just unable to answer the questions? So he scribbled whatever and bailed. Those who hand in tests early are usually either super geniuses or total slackers. This kid looked more like the latter. Thanks, Ethan smiled faintly. Okay, thank you for accepting our interview, Natalie said to the camera. Once she signaled to cut, the cameraman lowered the camera. Nat, do we keep filming? Of course. Let's wait and interview some other students, Natalie nodded. Ethan finished the interview and ran over to sit under the shade of a tree, waiting for Tank and Grace to come out. As the end of the exam period approached, more students began to trickle out. Natalie grabbed a few for quick interviews to build up footage. When the official bell rang, students swarmed out like a black tide. Natalie scanned the crowd for a suitable interview subject. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She spotted a striking figure in the crowd, a beautiful girl. Her presence attracted the gaze of many male students around her. She's the one. Natalie approached her. Hi, I'm Natalie Young, host of City Focus. Would you mind accepting a quick interview? She asked with a smile. Passers-by turned to look. They saw a stunningly beautiful girl in a white casual dress shirt, her hair in a ponytail, skin fair as snow, radiating youthful energy. 2 young male students were staring at her so intently they forgot to watch where they were going and walked straight into a utility pole, grimacing in pain. Grace blinked at the sudden appearance of the reporter and camera. She quickly smoothed her hair and straightened her clothes. Sure. Grace nodded. Oh my God, am I going to be on TV? She felt a flutter of excitement. What's your name? Grace Miller. Hello, Grace. Did you find the math exam difficult this morning? Natalie asked her standard question. Grace gave a bitter smile. It was actually pretty hard. The final big questions were beyond what we covered in class, totally new types of problems. But luckily, I've been cramming math problems with a friend recently, so I think I managed to get a decent score. Grace put on a humble expression. Natalie laughed. You think it was hard, too? Aside from the very first student I interviewed, everyone has said it was difficult. It seems the difficulty level of our exams is rising every year. Grace, how are you feeling now that it's over? Grace grinned. Not bad. I'm in a good mood. As she spoke, Grace looked around, searching for Ethan. Are you waiting for a friend? Natalie asked casually. Yeah. Waiting for a friend. Grace nodded. Grace. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded from behind the cameraman. Grace tilted her head and saw Ethan hiding behind the cameraman, looking smug. Ethan, how did you get out before me? Grace was stunned. Natalie turned around and saw Ethan too. Oh, they know each other. Perfect. A contrast interview. Haha, Grace, this student was actually the very first one to walk out of the exam hall, Natalie laughed. The first one? Ethan, you've got some nerve. Grace stared at him in shock. Everyone else wished the exam could be extended by half an hour to check their work or recalculate to prevent mistakes. He, on the other hand, walked out first. Did he really do well? It was too boring inside, so I finished and came out. Ethan walked over and stood beside her. Although his grades weren't stellar, he was hoping to get into a decent community college or maybe a state satellite campus. Just getting a degree would be a win. If you flunked it, you're in trouble. Grace huffed, though she was secretly worried. Don't worry, I definitely aced it. If I don't get a good score, I'll roast myself. Ethan joked. Roast yourself? I'll tear you in half and roast you myself. I'll sprinkle chili and cumin on you. Grace retorted arrogantly. Seeing how close they were, Natalie narrowed her eyes and continued the interview. You too. If you had to rate the difficulty of this math test from 1 to 10, what score would you give it? 8.5. They spoke simultaneously, giving completely different answers. Ethan glanced at her sideways. Grace, it clearly wasn't hard, okay? It was clearly very difficult, okay? Grace glared back. The two stared each other down. Natalie was secretly amused. Don't I have my news angle right here? Confident student faces reality check. If she came back to interview him when the scores were released, the scene of his failure, it would definitely become gossip fodder. A viral news moment. Thank you both for the interview. I hope your English Lit exam this afternoon goes smoothly. Natalie waved, and the cameraman cut the feed. Grace asked excitedly, Am I really going to be on TV? Will it air tonight? Yes, prime time on the news channel at 8 p.m. Remember to watch. Natalie explained. Okay, I'll watch it. Grace nodded, then turned to Ethan. Ethan, I'm starving. Let's go find something to eat. Let's wait for Tang to come out first. I saw a food stand at the intersection earlier. We could just eat there. Ethan looked back and spotted Tang coming out. He waved. Tang, over here. Tang jogged over. Ethan, and the great Grace. Hee Tang, how did you do? Ethan asked with a smile. Tang gave a bitter laugh and scratched his head. Math was way too hard. I probably just scraped a passing grade. It's okay, as long as you did your best. Come on, let's get lunch. Ethan patted his shoulder. The three left together, with Ethan and Grace walking side by side in front, chatting and laughing, drawing envious looks from male students nearby. That guy is lucky. Getting to be that close to a beauty like that makes a guy jealous. Ethan and the others arrived at the food stand at the intersection. It was a place selling loaded cheese fries, the messy, greasy kind. Because the exam had just ended, the stand was swarmed with students. There were no seats left. Many people were just squatting on the curb or standing around with their paper trays. Ethan, looks like there are no seats. Tank looked around. Doesn't matter. We're just grabbing a quick bite. Squatting is fine, Ethan said indifferently. Tank looked at Grace, opened his mouth to say we don't mind, but Grace is the campus queen of Oak Creek High. Is she really going to squat on the street and eat fries? But he didn't say it. If Grace didn't object, then whatever Ethan said went. Hee. As soon as Grace appeared at the stand, she attracted the attention of most of the boys. Her beauty made her the focal point of the crowd. Many boys stared, dumbfounded. She's so beautiful. Which school is she from? Gorgeous. Looks like the Oak Creek uniform. Ah, is that Grace Miller? Whoa, it really is her. Prettier in person. That face beats movie stars by a mile. The crowd buzzed with whispers. Princess Grace, you're quite famous, Ethan laughed. I don't care about such vanity, Grace said haughtily. All right, you wait here. I'll go buy the fries. Ethan lined up and bought 3 orders of loaded chili cheese fries. He got 3 number tickets and waited. 10 minutes later, Ethan's number was called. 3 steaming trays of fries were placed on the counter. Ethan and Tank grabbed their trays and squatted near the entrance to eat. Grace went to get hers, added some extra ketchup and ranch dressing at the condiment station, and then turned to look around. The boys she glanced at were thrilled. She's looking at me. Many boys immediately stood up to offer their seats. H here, you can have this seat. I'm full, you sit here. Hey, my friend is full. You can sit next to me. A burly guy kicked his friend off the bench. Friend. WTF. I just started eating. Brothers before hoes, man. Grace said coldly. Thanks, but no thanks. Ah, an ice queen. Look but don't touch. The cold rejection on that beautiful face kept people 1,000 miles away. A goddess was a goddess, full of class. But then, under the gaze of all the boys, Grace walked over to Ethan. She mimicked Ethan, squatting down on the curb, and started chowing down. Her image as the perfect ice queen shattered instantly. The boys watched, dumbfounded. No, it can't be. The crowd, 0 to Q. Who is that kid next to the goddess? How can he make the goddess lose her composure like that? The sight of Grace, squatting on the curb, eating chili cheese fries had become a spectacle. The crowd watched with expressions of pure shock. How could such a beautiful girl act so unrefined? She must have been led astray by that kid next to her. Many of the male students felt a deep sense of tragedy. Ethan noticed the mix of shock and envy in their eyes and whispered to Grace, "Grace, this is all your fault. We're just trying to eat, and now we're being watched like monkeys in a zoo." Grace ate a mouthful, getting a bit of ranch dressing on the corner of her lips. She looked completely unbothered as she mixed the cheese into the fries. "I don't mind. You're a big man. Why do you care? Why is this cheese so stringy? It's so hard to cut with this plastic fork." Ethan rolled his eyes. "It's melted mozzarella. It's supposed to be stretchy. You don't know how to eat it?" Grace was still struggling with a clump of fries fused together by cheese. She couldn't separate them inside. "How am I supposed to eat this if it won't break?" "Here, I'll teach you." Ethan reached out with his fork and stabbed the clump in Grace's tray. The other boys watching this were stunned. "Holy crap, that kid dares to stick his fork in the goddess's tray. What is their relationship? Are they a couple?" Crack. The sound of hearts breaking could be heard across the food stand. Ethan twirled the cheesy fries around his fork and lifted them to Grace's mouth. "Here, open up. Just bite the hanging cheese." Grace blinked. And then, you just eat the whole bite like this. Ethan forked a massive clump from his own tray and shoved it into his mouth, showing zero table manners. "That's the best way to eat it. Try it." Grace was skeptical, but she followed Ethan's method. Although it wasn't elegant, it did seem to be the only way to really enjoy the flavor. So, completely abandoning her goddess image, she started chowing down with big bites under the stunned gazes of the crowd. The three of them quickly filled their stomachs, dusted off their pants, and left. There were only 2 hours left until the afternoon exam, so there wasn't enough time to go all the way home to rest. The weather was stiflingly hot, so Ethan suggested resting in a nearby park where there were shade trees and benches. They found a bench under a large oak tree and sat down. "It's so hot. What do we do?" Grace fanned herself with her hand, sweating lightly, but her eyes darted around as if she was plotting something. "What do we do?" "Deal with it. Just be glad we have shade," Ethan said, leaning back on the bench. Ethan, I'll fan you." Tank laughed sycophantically. He picked up a large leaf from a nearby bush and used it as a fan for Ethan. "Little Tank, good work. The Emperor is pleased," Ethan said with exaggerated authority. Grace rolled her eyes. "Ethan, don't you want to eat something ice cold?" "Like what?" "A rocket pop." "Oh, I want one. Go buy it." "Oomph. No. Let's play rock, paper, scissors. Loser buys." "Deal." Ethan chuckled inwardly. Rock, paper, scissors again. This girl almost always threw rock. Winning against her was too easy. "Sure, let's do it." Ethan shrugged. They put their hands behind their backs, staring into each other's eyes, trying to read the other's move. 3, 2, 1. Rock, paper, scissors. Grace threw rock, as expected, and Ethan threw paper, as expected. Wait, actually, previous patterns suggest Ethan usually wins by predicting her. If she threw rock, he threw paper. "Oh yeah, I won again." "Ethan, you suck at this game." "Huh." Grace jumped up excitedly, hands on her hips, laughing triumphantly. Ethan looked at her fondly and smiled. "Yeah, you won again. So how many do you want?" "Just one." "Forget it. I'll give you mine too." "I'll let you eat 2 rocket pops," Ethan smiled. Tank immediately stood up. "Ethan, you sit. I'll go buy them for you." He didn't want to be a third wheel. "Tank, you're learning." Ethan was a bit surprised. The originally simple-minded Tank had become quite observant. He had a bright future. I learned from the best." Tank laughed and turned to run off to buy the popsicles. Grace sat down, mimicking Ethan's posture, leaning back on the bench. Ethan glanced at her and suddenly noticed a mosquito landing on her chest. He looked closer. It really was a nasty mosquito. "Damn mosquito, daring to occupy my territory? You have a death wish, wait." Before striking, "Should I tell Grace?" Ethan thought for a moment and decided to warn her. "Grace, don't move." What's wrong?" "There's a mosquito. Don't move, or it'll fly away. I'll smack it for you." Okay." Grace froze, keeping her body still, her eyes glancing suspiciously at Ethan. Ethan raised his hand and slapped down swiftly. "Grace." For a moment, their eyes met. The air was filled with awkward tension. Ethan subconsciously pressed down a little. Nice elasticity. "You jerk, Ethan." Grace reacted, her face flushing red. She slapped his hand away and grabbed him by the collar. "Is this jerk making up excuses to feel me up again? I'm going to kill him." Stop. "Grace, there really was a mosquito." Ethan opened his hand to show the flattened corpse of the mosquito. Grace saw the dead mosquito and paused. He really did kill a mosquito." Fine, I'll spare your dog life this time. Grace lowered her fist and let him go. But that slap just now had thrown her heart into chaos. It was pounding her chest. Stupid Ethan. Detestable. She felt like she had been tricked, but there was nothing she could do about it. Ethan blew the mosquito corpse off his hand and clapped the dust away. All right, mosquito neutralized. Aren't you going to thank me for saving your life? Grace rolled her eyes. You just swatted a tiny bug. What do you want? Saving my life. Keep dreaming. Ethan kept a straight face. Mosquitoes naturally carry all sorts of bacteria and viruses. If you get bitten, you could get infected. If you get infected, the virus spreads in your body. If you get a fever, you could go into shock. If you go into shock and nobody notices, you could die. Look at that logic. Isn't that saving your life? Guresu, shouka kohajime, kaomoji, rinku. You jerk, you took a 2-cent problem and rounded it up to $1 million, didn't you? Get lost. Grace yawned, feeling a bit sleepy. Ethan, what time is it? Exactly 1:30. Still an hour before the exam. Ethan checked his phone. He turned and saw Grace looking drowsy. He rubbed her head affectionately. Why don't you take a nap? No, I haven't had my rocket pop yet. Grace forced herself to stay awake at the thought of the treat. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. It was a call from Grace's home landline. Ethan answered, and Lily Miller's voice came through. Hello, Ethan. How did the exams go? Not bad. No problems. We got this, Ethan smiled. That's good. You've all worked hard today. I took 2 days off work to make some good food for you. I'm stewing an old hen for soup, and I bought fresh oysters. I'm going to make garlic butter oysters. Oysters are great for energy. Ethan's eyes lit up at the mention of garlic butter oysters. It was one of the few foods he never got tired of and loved more the more he ate it. Awesome. Thanks, Aunt Lily. Ethan said happily. All right, do well on the afternoon exam. Good luck. Come home for dinner when you're done. Lily laughed. You got it. Ethan hung up, and Grace leaned her head over. My mom. Yeah. Auntie said she's making good food tonight. Garlic oysters. Ethan grinned. Nice. I haven't had oysters in so long. Grace smacked her lips. Just hearing the name made her mouth water. Grace's family used to be better off than Ethan's, but they still didn't eat expensive seafood often. Only during holidays or birthdays. There was a famous oyster-producing region nearby, Chesapeake Bay style, where the oysters were big and plump. And in the local food as medicine culture, oysters were considered a tonic for replenishing energy. As they were talking about oysters, Tank came back with the treats. He bought 3 popsicles and a bottle of Mountain Dew. Ethan, since you're not eating a popsicle, I got you soda. Tank handed him the drink. Ethan was slightly surprised. Tank had changed. He was smarter, more thoughtful. Tank, you're thoughtful. Ethan took the soda, popped the tab, and took a big swig. Glug glug, burp so refreshing. Still the classic taste. Ethan praised. The ice-cold soda hit his stomach, instantly washing away the summer heat. Grace held a popsicle in each hand, licking the left one, then the right one. Her pink tongue slid over the red, white, and blue rocket pops. It was quite cute. Ethan watched her enjoying them and wanted a taste. Grace, let me have a lick, okay? Why should I? Didn't you have your soda? Grace turned away, eyeing him warily, afraid Ethan would snatch her food. I'll give you a sip, you give me a lick. Trade. Ethan proposed. No way. I've already licked them. Grace shook her head like a rattledrum. Ethan grinned shamelessly. I don't mind. Grace glared at him. I'm mine. Just one bite. How about it? Let me have a bite, and I promise to buy you another one next time. Ethan swore. Hearing she could get another one later, Grace was tempted. Just one bite? Really? Really? Just let me have a taste. Fine. Grace held the rocket pop to his mouth. Ethan lowered his head, opened his mouth, and chomp. He bit off nearly half the popsicle. Ethan Ford, you have a death wish. Grace's eyes went wide. She stared at the bare stick, shocked and furious. Tricked by this jerk again. It was, Jay, just one bite. Ethan mumbled with a wicked grin, his mouth full of ice, freezing his teeth. That was a bite. You said a lick. You lied again. I'm going to strangle you. Grace clamped the other popsicle in her mouth and shoved him down onto the bench with one hand. Tank quickly grabbed his own popsicle and dodged to the side to avoid collateral damage. He watched Ethan getting pinned down by Grace and prayed silently. Amen. God help you. Ethan, you're on your own. I can't help you with this kind of thing. Besides, the two of us together probably couldn't take Grace in a fight. Good luck. He finished his prayer and ran far away to watch the show. Ethan and Grace wrestled for a few minutes until they were tired, then stopped. Jerk, if you dare bite my rocket pop again, I'll bite you. Grace bared her cute little canine teeth. All right, truce. Hurry up, and eat your popsicle and rest. Otherwise, you won't have energy for the afternoon. Ethan laughed. Grace actually listened. She stopped licking and crunched through the remaining 2 popsicles in a few bites. After eating and the wrestling match, Grace's battery was drained. She yawned and leaned back on the bench to nap. Not long after, Ethan heard her steady breathing, but her head had nowhere to rest. Every time she drifted off, her head would droop and wake her up. Ethan shifted closer, sat next to her, and used his hand to guide her head onto his shoulder. Sleep. Grace hummed softly against Ethan's shoulder, closed her eyes, and slowly drifted into deep sleep. After a while, Ethan heard the faint sound of snoring. He turned his head and saw a faint smile on that exquisite face beneath her shiny black hair. Ethan couldn't help but smile. What kind of sweet dream is this little girl having? The dog days of summer rolled in with waves of heat. In the trees, cicadas tirelessly performed their midsummer symphony. In the park, under the shade, the 2 figures on the bench leaned against each other. Grace was sound asleep. Ethan wasn't sleeping. He had his phone out, playing Snake. Beep, beep, beep. Suddenly the alarm rang. 2:10 p.m. Grace was woken by the alarm, muttering groggily. Stupid Ethan, what time is it? Sleepyhead, it's 2:10. Get ready, time to go to the exam. Ethan turned his head and smiled at her. Grace slowly opened her eyes and rubbed them. So soon. Have you been here the whole time? Grace realized she had been sleeping on Ethan's shoulder. Her cheeks reddened. Yeah, where else would I go? Quick, go wash your face and wake up. We have to get to the testing center. Ethan moved his shoulder, feeling a wave of soreness. To avoid waking her, he hadn't moved a muscle for nearly an hour. Oh, all right. Grace sat up straight, feeling embarrassed. Did you have a dream? You were smiling. Pretty happily. Ethan rubbed his shoulder and asked with a grin. Grace recalled the dream she just had, and her face turned even redder. She spat. I did not. Actually, she didn't know why she had dreamed of swimming in a pool with Ethan, and it was just the 2 of them. The scene was too weird. Dreams were unpredictable, but she certainly didn't dare tell him about it. Fine, I don't care anyway. Let's go. Ethan stood up. Tank, let's go. Ethan called out to Tank. Tank scrambled up from his bench. Right coming, Ethan. Wait for me. The 3 left the park and entered the exam venue again. The afternoon subject was English literature. After Ethan got the test booklet, he flipped to the back to check the essay prompt. Sure enough, it was exactly the same as in his memory. Perspective defines reality. This made things easy. If he didn't get a perfect score on the essay, he would be doing a disservice to all his preparation. Ethan picked up his pen and began to write furiously. Time flew by, and soon it was time to leave early again. At the school gate, Natalie Young, having had her lunch break, was back with her assistant Will and the cameraman. Nat, do we really have to film twice? Will asked, puzzled. You ate breakfast today. Why do you need to eat dinner? Natalie laughed. Morning was math. Afternoon is English lit. In our exam coverage series, what's one of the most important topics? You forgot? The essay prompt. Natalie reminded him. Oh, right. We have to report on the essay. We need to ask the students what the prompt was this year. Will nodded in realization. Same drill. We catch the first student out of the hall, Natalie said with a smile. She thought to herself, surely that kid won't be out so fast this afternoon. This was English lit. Wouldn't you want to use the extra time to check for spelling mistakes and grammar? Surely no one would hand in their test too early this time. The weather was hot. Natalie grabbed a bottle of water and took a big gulp. Hey, Nat, looks like someone is coming out. Will shouted happily. Natalie lowered her bottle and looked toward the school. Suddenly, she saw a familiar face. She sprayed a mouthful of water. Cough. How is it him again? Natalie looked shocked, because the first person walking out of the testing center was, once again, Ethan Ford. The parents at the gate saw Ethan too and started buzzing. Why is he out first again? Probably doesn't know the answers, just scribbled something and left. Sigh, he's probably given up on himself. There are very few geniuses in this world, but plenty of slackers. Understandable. Yeah, a lot of people just take the exams as a formality. After high school, it's straight to the factory line for them. Poor kid, no future. Will whispered, Nat, do we still interview him? Interview him? Of course. Walking out first twice in a row. We have to interview him properly. Natalie suddenly got excited. She vaguely sensed a viral hotspot. When Ethan walked out the gate, Natalie approached him again. Hello, Ethan. How was the difficulty of the English lit exam this afternoon? Natalie asked straight away. Ethan scratched his head. It was okay. Not as hard as I imagined. Just average. Natalie and her crew paused. Average difficulty? Still talking big. Can I ask what the essay prompt was this year? Our viewers are very curious. Natalie paused, then asked, Ethan, you didn't skip reading the prompt, did you? Ethan laughed. How is that possible? The title is Perspective Defines Reality. The theme is about looking at things from different angles to find different truths. You know, multifaceted thinking. Oh, so that's the topic this year. Thanks for sharing, Ethan. Next, I have one more question. The exams for today are over. What are you planning to do when you get home? Natalie asked with a smile. Actually, the standard answer would be, I'm going home to prepare for tomorrow's exams, strive for a better score, and so on. Obviously go home and eat. Tonight, I'm eating garlic oysters. Ethan licked his lips, looking like a hungry cat. Clang Natalie, Will, and the cameraman almost fell over hearing that answer. All right, it seems Ethan is hungry. We won't keep you then. Natalie coughed dryly, embarrassed. It was the first time she had been stunned by such an answer, this kid. He really marched to the beat of his own drum. Thank you, Ethan, for accepting our interview. Thanks. Natalie composed herself and smiled. She had her material for today's exam coverage. Really, thanks to Ethan. No problem, don't mention it. Ethan waved his hand. After the interview, Ethan went back to hiding in the shade, waiting for Grace and Tank. When the bell rang to end the exam, students surged toward the gate like a tidal wave. Grace and Tank came out one after another. Ethan, Grace smiled beautifully, waving at Ethan as she jogged over. Her youthful, striking figure attracted many gazes. Grace, how is English? Ethan met her and asked. Felt good. Better than math, anyway. I've always been good at English. Okay. Grace said proudly. Confidence is good. The score shouldn't be bad then. Ethan nodded. Grace giggled, then lowered her voice. I think I have a talent for writing. I wrote the essay super fast. When I get to college, I want to try writing a novel. Ethan looked surprised. Writing novels? At a dead end. Huh, why do you say that? Grace paused, puzzled. If you don't write well, those handsome male readers and beautiful female readers won't buy it. If you do write well, only then will they support you. But writing well is really hard. Ethan said seriously. Support? If I write a novel, I'm definitely getting published, like the great authors. I don't need donations. Grace said ambitiously. Ethan, Grace, what are you chatting about? Aren't we going home to eat? Tank jogged over, asking curiously. Mentioning food reminded Ethan of the garlic oysters. His stomach growled immediately. Right, talk later. Let's go, time for oysters. Ethan waved and laughed. The three returned to the neighborhood. After saying goodbye to Tank, Ethan and Grace parked their bikes and raced upstairs to Grace's house. Mom, we're back. Grace shouted as she entered. Ethan followed close behind. He could smell the garlic aroma before he even stepped through the door. So fragrant. Ethan practically drooled. Lily brought a platter of oysters out from the kitchen, smiling. Go wash your hands. Your dad'll be back soon. Then we eat. Yay, Grace cheered and ran into the bathroom first. Ethan followed her in. The two of them shared the single sink. Grace saw her spot under the tap being crowded and glared at Ethan. Let me wash first. Wash together, what's the big deal? No, it's too crowded. Squeeze a bit, there's always room. No, you're taking my spot. Grace, pass me the soap. No, then I'll just have to borrow yours. Ethan suddenly grabbed Grace's hands. Her hands were covered in lather, slippery and soft. So smooth. Grace's face flushed red. She wanted to pull away, but her hands were firmly grasped by Ethan, who proceeded to rub his hands against hers. Detestable, stupid Ethan is bullying me again. Stupid Ethan, let go. Grace glared at him, blushing. Hey, now I have soap too. Ethan proudly showed off his soapy hands, all stolen from Grace. Grace's eyes darted mischievously. She reached out and smeared a handful of foam onto Ethan's nose. Haha, you wanted some? I'll give you more. Grace laughed triumphantly. Ethan wiped his nose. All right, this means war. Grace, take this. Ethan reached for Grace's face with foam-covered hands. Grace shrieked and dodged, trying to parry. Suddenly, her foot slipped on the wet tiles. She was about to fall. Ethan reacted instantly, grabbing her waist and pulling her back, pulling her into his embrace. It happened in a split second. Grace didn't have time to react. When she realized what happened, she was already held tight in Ethan's arms. For a moment, both their bodies froze. You okay? Ethan chuckled softly. Grace felt her cheeks burning, her heart beating fast. I am fine. Stupid Ethan, have you hugged enough? Ethan grinned. Nope. Grace looked up, glared at him, lifted her foot, and stomped down. Ow! Grace, you ungrateful brat. Ethan clutched his foot, grimacing in pain. Grace made a face at him. What are you two doing in there? Are you done? Lily's voice called from outside. Mom, I'm done. Grace answered with a laugh and bolted out. Ethan shook his head and smiled bitterly. This girl is really fierce. He washed his hands and sat at the dining table next to Grace. The food was served, and George Miller arrived just in time. Everyone ate together. Ethan had eaten at the Millers many times. It felt just like home, no restrictions at all. The platter of garlic oysters was mostly devoured by him and Grace. Fighting for food was, and always would be, their daily routine. After dinner and a short rest, the clock hit 8 p.m. George turned on the TV to watch the news. As usual, City Focus was just starting. Viewers, let's take a look at the situation for the examinees today. The scene cut to Ethan's interview. Grace saw Ethan on the screen and shouted in surprise, "Ethan, you're on TV." Ethan just smiled. Being on TV was nothing new to him in his past life. Then came the clips of other students and Grace. Compared to Ethan, the other answers were standard and boring, which only highlighted Ethan's confident and bizarre responses. Next, I have one more question. The exams for today are over. What are you planning to do when you get home? Obviously go home and eat. Tonight, I'm eating garlic oysters. Grace couldn't hold back her laughter hearing Ethan's answer. Oh my God, Ethan, your answer is so weird. It's over. After this airs, Ethan, you're going to be famous. Ethan watched his own interview and laughed. Don't exaggerate. It's just 2 clips. I have no interest in being an internet celebrity. Grace paused and asked, puzzled, Internet celebrity? What's an internet celebrity? Cough. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Go wash up and sleep early. We still have exams tomorrow. Ethan stood up. Stupid Ethan, good luck on science and history tomorrow. Grace shouted after him. Yeah, you too. Ethan said goodbye to Grace's parents and returned home. His house felt a bit empty. Ethan remembered his mother was having surgery the day after tomorrow. He wanted to call her, but as soon as he took out his phone, he put it down. His dad had ordered him not to call until the exams were over. If he called now, his dad might get angry. Ethan shook his head and smiled bitterly. He would go to the hospital tomorrow after the exams. Surely his dad couldn't say anything then. Back in his room, Ethan turned on his computer and continued writing code for his antivirus software. The program wasn't particularly difficult, but given the current level of computer hardware, he had to optimize it heavily to fit most machines. Otherwise, the antivirus protection wouldn't be effective. The project was about 80% complete. He should be able to finish a beta version before starting college. Ethan buried his head in code. Unknowingly, it was already 10 p.m. Beep, beep, beep. Suddenly, his messenger chimed. He opened the message. It was from Aqua Girl. Ever since Grace added him on this alt account, she had been pretending to be a netizen from the Northeast, trying to roast him every day. But Ethan always deflected it. Ethan occasionally teased her back. Once, he tricked her into thinking cucumber slices soaked in sugar water would improve her complexion. She actually tried it, only to be chased by mosquitoes and ants all day. Aqua Girl. Hey, handsome, what are you doing? Ethan. Correction, I'm not just handsome. I'm big too. Aqua Girl. I haven't seen it. How would I know how big you are? Ethan. Want to see? He. Aqua Girl. Forget it. Too far away. I'm all the way up in the Northeast. Ethan twitched his lips, glancing out the window. Northeast, my ass. You're just across the alley. Still pretending? Ethan. Oh. Well, if you can't see, it's your loss. Aqua Girl. I realize you really have thick skin. Ethan. Thanks for the compliment. Aqua Girl. So what's up? Aqua Girl. I'm sharing a forum post with you. It cracked me up. Huh. Grace sent a link. It was from a popular local BBS forum. He opened the thread, and the title stunned him. How do we rate Oyster Boy from the exams? Is he a genius or a slacker? There were over 1,000 replies, and the thread was pinned as hot. Verdict. Oyster Boy is definitely a slacker. My brother said that arrogant kid from last time is already tightening screws in a factory. Huh. I saw the news too. That kid is a weirdo. What is in young people's heads these days? Just trying to be unique. The comments were mixed, mostly mocking. Ethan shook his head and laughed. In this era of information scarcity, even a little thing like this ended up on the internet. He didn't care at all. A little gossip wouldn't affect him. It was just chatter. Aqua Girl. Did you see it? Oyster Boy. That nickname is hilarious. That guy is too funny. Huh. Grace sat at her computer, typing away and snickering secretly. Stupid Ethan. Finally got a chance to roast you. Gagaga. She had just been surfing the web randomly and stumbled upon the post. She hadn't expected the news clip to spark such a heated discussion online so quickly. So she deliberately sent the link, planning to annoy Ethan. Ethan. Oh, don't you think he's handsome? Aqua Girl. Handsome? More like a cockroach. Ethan. I saw in the interview there was a girl standing next to him. It looked like a good match. Maybe they'll be a couple. Grace's cheeks flushed. She quickly typed, "A match? Are your eyes broken? Who would like him?" She added another sentence. "Only an idiot would like him." After typing, Grace bit her finger, staring at the screen, her face red. For some reason, she felt nervous. Did stupid Ethan figure it out? Impossible, I hid so well, so deep. He definitely doesn't know. On the other side, Ethan chuckled. He could imagine Grace biting her finger nervously right now. Playing games with me? Amateur. Ethan, oh really? Why are you so excited? That girl isn't you. Grace saw this and felt relieved. Stupid Ethan really doesn't know it's me. This is fun. Aqua girl. I'm just indignant for her. She's so beautiful, naturally gorgeous. Ethan, yeah. Her? I know her. She's a nice person, but she saves a lot of fabric when making clothes. Grace's eyes widened. Saves? Fabric? WTF. Is that jerk saying I'm small? Detestable. Grace looked down into her collar. I'm not small, okay. Aqua girl, I don't think she's small. Your eyes definitely have problems. Go fix them before you go blind. After typing, Grace logged off Messenger, puffing out her cheeks in anger. I'm clearly normal size. Does that stupid Ethan only like big ones? Grace looked down again, falling into deep thought. Ethan saw the gray icon and knew Grace had logged off in a huff. Little Gracie, you can't beat me. Ethan muttered with a laugh, then continued his coding empire. The next morning, Ethan was woken up as usual by the human alarm clock, Grace. Ethan, get up. Okay, alarm clock, Grace. Alarm clock? You're the alarm clock. Get up. Ethan lazily got out of bed, washed up quickly, and went to Grace's house for breakfast. He was sitting at the table drinking porridge when Grace came out of her room, hair in a ponytail. Morning, Ethan. Morning. Ethan looked up and almost spat out his porridge. Why did Grace get so big today? Developed overnight? Grace noticed Ethan's gaze. Her cheeks turned crimson, and she glared at him. What are you looking at? Never seen it before. Honestly, haven't seen that before. Ethan shook his head and laughed. Grace pretended to be calm and sat down to eat, but she felt uncomfortable. To look bigger, she had specifically stuffed 2 sponge pads in there. But she wasn't used to it. It felt awkward. Although the visual effect was okay, it just felt weird. Forget it. I'll take them out later. After breakfast, Grace ran back to her room. Ethan waited at the door. Grace, hurry up. Coming. Grace came out of her room again. Ethan paused. Whoa, what happened? Why does it feel small again? He rubbed his eyes, confused. Did I see it wrong earlier? Actually not big, but with my golden eyes, how could I be wrong? Truly strange. Big and small, fluctuating like the stock market. Truly unpredictable. Today was the second day of the exams. They picked up Tank and went straight to the testing center. Science in the morning, history in the afternoon. The process went smoothly. These 2 subjects weren't difficult for Ethan either. Especially history. For someone who had lived through the future, understanding the past context was easier. After the afternoon exam ended, the candidates surged out of the school, cheering and jumping with excitement. Because it was finally over. For them, the biggest test of their lives was finally done. The string that had been pulled tight in their brains could finally relax. Without the pressure of exams, the mood was naturally joyous. Ethan waited for Grace at the gate. From a distance, he saw her skipping and running toward him, a bright smile on her face. Ethan, the exams are finally over. Oh yeah, huh? Grace hopped over to Ethan, spinning in a circle like a happy elf. Yeah, finally over. Ethan said calmly. He didn't feel much excitement, more of a relief. The pressure was finally off. His performance was completely within his expectations. He was quite satisfied. If he had to estimate, he'd definitely get into a top-tier university. When the results came out, his parents should be happy. Ethan, Tank ran out too, his face full of excitement. Look at you, all happy. Let's go to the shop tonight to celebrate. Ethan patted his shoulder. Sound good. Tank chuckled and nodded. The 3 returned to their classroom at Oak Creek High. Classmates were discussing the test questions, some proud, some annoyed, some relieved. The room was noisy. After a while, Mr. Zane walked in quickly. The classroom instantly quieted down as students rushed to their seats. Mr. Zane looked around the class, a look of gratification on his face. First, congratulations on completing the exams. 10 years of hard study for this day. Regardless of the final result, I hope you can look toward the future and run toward your goals. Today is likely our last homeroom together. The next time you come to school, it will be to pick up your diplomas. But I still want to congratulate you in advance. Congratulations, you've graduated. As Mr. Zane's voice fell, the class erupted in applause. Everyone's face held a mix of excitement and reluctance. Excitement because they had graduated, stepping halfway into society. Reluctance because they were saying a complete goodbye to 3 years of high school youth, saying goodbye to teachers and classmates, and going their separate ways. To meet again might take years. Mr. Zane smiled faintly and continued, I wish you all a bright future. As long as you live well, that is my greatest hope. Dismissed. Goodbye, teacher. Everyone stood up in unison to see Mr. Zane off. After Mr. Zane left, the class became even noisier. Suddenly, someone from the class next door ran into the hallway and shouted outside, I graduated. Then, crowds poured out of the classrooms. Papers and notebooks flew into the air, scattering everywhere. For a moment, the whole school shook with noise and cheers. Grace turned around, looking at Ethan with smiling eyes. Stupid Ethan, congratulations on graduating. Princess Grace, same to you. After the exams, we have a 2-month summer break. What are you planning to do? Ethan asked curiously. Grace tapped her lip with a slender finger, thought for a moment, and said, I want to get a summer job, earn some tuition money. It might relieve some pressure on my parents. Ethan grinned mischievously. Then come work at my shop. Work for me. Your shop? Work for you? No way. Stupid Ethan. If I worked for you, wouldn't you just exploit me to death? No, absolutely not. Grace shook her head vigorously. Ethan, you make me sound like some blood-sucking capitalist. How could I exploit you? You exploiting me is more like it. Grace lifted her chin arrogantly. Correct. Even if there's exploitation, it'll be me exploiting you. Ethan spread his arms, looking like a martyr ready for execution. Then come. Exploit me ruthlessly, ravage me. Grace blushed and pushed his chest. What are you saying? Get lost. Ethan chuckled. So, if you're not working for me, where do you want to go? Grace cupped her chin in her hands. I want to study architectural design in college. My mom has an old classmate who is a supervisor at a design firm. She said I could go there and shadow them. Even though I haven't started college yet, I still want to go see what it's like. Doesn't really count as a summer job. More like learning. Ethan shrugged. All right, I don't know anything about architectural design. Since you want to learn, go for it. Grace stood up and dusted off her pants. Okay, let's go. Let's go visit Auntie. All right, let's move. Ethan smiled. Tank leaned in. Ethan, can I come too? You go to the shop, buy some good food with Henry, and wait for me. Ethan patted his shoulder. Tank gave a simple laugh. Right, okay. I'll head to the shop first then. Ethan and Grace left the school and went straight to the hospital. Inside the ward, they saw Ethan's parents. Mary Ford was lying in bed. Her complexion was better than before, and her spirits seemed high. Son, how was the exam? Do you think you can get into a state school? Mary held Ethan's hand and asked with concern. Frank Ford teased from the side. Your mother, even in the hospital, worries about your exams all day. Worried you wouldn't do well. State school? Mom, you underestimate your son too much. Ethan laughed. Seeing Ethan so confident, Mary relaxed. As long as you did well, I'm relieved. Mom, don't worry too much. You have surgery tomorrow. Rest well. Ethan comforted her. Yeah, Annie, just rest, Grace said obediently from the side. Oh good, Grace. Thank you for watching over him these past few days. In the future, you have to keep a close eye on him. Don't let him run wild just because exams are over. Especially don't let him sneak off to pull all-nighters at internet cafes. Mary turned to hold Grace's hand and instructed. Grace grinned. Okay, Annie, don't worry. I'll watch him like a hawk. That's good. If he dares to bully you, tell me. I'll stand up for you. Mary said dotingly. Ethan watched the two talking. Why does this feel like a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law scene? Teaming up against me. Okay, Mom, I wouldn't dare bully her. She bullies me all day. Ethan filed a complaint first. Grace put on a wronged expression. Auntie, he's accusing me. I would never. Mary reached out and knocked Ethan on the head. Grace is such a good kid. How could she bully anyone? You're older than Grace. You're practically a big brother. You should yield to your little sister more. Ethan immediately shouted. I don't want to be your brother. She's going to be my wife. Grace wasn't backing down either. She said haughtily, I don't want to be his sister. Ethan winked and whispered. Then what do you want to be? Grace blushed and glared at him. Your nemesis. Watching the two kids staring each other down, Mary found it amusing. These two, enemies since childhood. All right, go back and argue. This is a hospital room. Let your mother rest. Frank waved them away. All right, Dad, Mom, we're heading back then. Ethan took Grace's hand and left the ward. Grace, you go home first. I have to go to the shop. I won't be eating at home tonight. Tell Aunt Lily for me. Ethan said as they walked. Okay, but come back early. Otherwise, I'll tell Auntie you're out fooling around. Grace smiled slyly. Fine. You want to be a strict wife already? Want to manage me for life? Ethan turned back, looking at her with a smile. Grace's face turned as red as an apple. She pulled her hand away. In no way. Who wants to be your wife? Shameless. I'm leaving. She walked forward without looking back. Hey, wait for me. Ethan chased after her. After separating from Grace at the hospital, Ethan rode his bike to the shop. As soon as he arrived, he smelled food. A table was set up in the shop. Tank and Hannah were setting out bowls and chopsticks. Ethan's back. Tank greeted happily. Ethan. Hannah ran over happily, opening her arms. Ethan picked her up and lifted her high. Hey, Hannah feels heavier. Looks like your brother is taking good care of you. Ethan put her down and rubbed her little head, laughing. Henry buys me meat every day now. I can eat 2 bowls of rice at one meal. Hannah boasted about her appetite proudly. That's good. You're growing. Eat more. Where's your brother? Cooking in the back. Yeah. Henry said since Ethan is coming for dinner, he bought half a chicken to stir fry. Hannah replied obediently. She looked up at Ethan with big eyes, full of admiration. Although she was young, she understood a lot. She knew that their current good life was given by the big brother in front of her. In her heart, she felt deep gratitude toward Ethan. So she tried to help out in the shop as much as she could, sweeping the floor clean every day and wiping the glass until it sparkled. She hoped to do her part. Great. Smell that. I know your brother's cooking must be good. Ethan praised. They had eaten at the shop a few times recently. Henry Payne could indeed cook. Although his skills were average, home-style tastes, his proficiency was heartbreaking. So young, yet he had to know everything. The children of the poor grow up fast. Moreover, their home was long gone. Henry was both father and mother to his sister. Just then, Henry came out carrying the last dish, braised chicken with mushrooms. Ethan, come eat. Henry set down the dish and said respectfully, All right, let's all sit down. Ethan smiled and nodded. 3 young men and a little girl sat around, eating a somewhat simple meal of 3 dishes and a soup. They ate and chatted, the atmosphere lively. During the meal, Tank asked, Ethan, exams are over. When are we opening the shop? Ethan thought for a moment. In 2 days. After we get our diplomas, we need to go to the tech tower. My mom is having surgery, so there won't be much money left. We can't pay cash for stock. We have to go to the tech tower and find partners. See if we can get them to front us the goods. Computer parts, monitors, stuff like that. Tank looked worried. Ethan, if we don't pay, will they be willing to lend us the goods? We don't seem to have anything to put up as collateral. Ethan sighed. Yeah, that's the problem. If we don't solve the supply issue, the shop can't open. An empty shop won't convince anyone we sell or repair computers. But no matter how hard it is, we have to try. This is entrepreneurship. You'll always hit problems. What we have to do is keep a clear head, find the key to the problem, and solve it. We have no money, but we want parts, so we must deal with the tech tower. Ideally, convince them to lend us the parts, even a small amount. Tank thought for a moment. Ethan, should we go find Mr. Powers tomorrow? He's been in the tech tower for years. He should have connections. Ethan nodded and smiled. Yeah, I thought about asking him to help. But not now, and not by just showing up at his door. I'll arrange a time to take him out for a meal first. This is urgent, but we can't rush. Need to understand his situation first. Tank, remember, sometimes when asking for favors, you have to know if the person has the capacity to help. If they do, great, ask for an introduction. If not, then don't bring it up to avoid embarrassing them or making them lose face. Doing business is about relationships. Maintain the relationship, and you can keep doing business. Hearing Ethan's words, Tank suddenly understood. Ethan is a real pro. Lesson learned. We'll do it your way, Ethan. Contact Mr. Powers first. Tank nodded. Ethan smiled. Yeah, in 2 days, we'll go to the tech tower. If we can negotiate it ourselves, it's better not to use Mr. Powers. Favors are hard to pay back. They ate and chatted about the trip to the tech tower. After they were full, Ethan asked Tank to buy 3 beers and a juice. Tank bought the drinks back and opened the cans for Ethan and Henry. Ethan picked up his beer and smiled. Here, Tank, Henry. Cheers to graduation. Drink up. We're adults now, graduates. No need to fear getting caught drinking. Tank chuckled. This wasn't his first time drinking. He had snuck a few with Ethan before, but now he could drink openly. Here, Ethan. I toast to you. To Ethan. Henry also raised his beer respectfully. Happy graduation, Ethan. Hannah mimicked her brother, raising her juice box to clink glasses, but her arm was too short, so she had to stand on her tiptoes. Her struggle to clink glasses was adorable, making all 3 of them laugh. The small shop was filled with joyous laughter, gradually blending into the night outside. After food and drink, Ethan and Tank moved 2 chairs to the shop entrance to continue drinking and chatting. Tank hadn't drunk much before. 3 cans in, his face was red down to his neck, showing signs of intoxication. Ethan slumped in his chair, looking at the pitch-black night sky, lost in thought. Tank, if we didn't open this shop, where would you go after graduation? Tank paused, unsure why Ethan asked that. Maybe back to my mom's hometown. My dad, that gambler, comes back often to demand money. My mom planned to move back to hide from him once I graduated. Tank laughed self-deprecatingly. Sometimes I really don't want to admit that gambler is my father. Ethan suddenly looked enlightened. No wonder it was so hard to contact him in the past life. But everything had changed. Does your dad still come to ask for money? Ethan turned to ask. Yeah, came once before the exams. I gave him $300 to get rid of him. Tank smiled bitterly. Ethan frowned. Why didn't you tell me? I told you, if he dares to come back for money, come find me directly. Tank looked guilty and whispered. Ethan, exams were coming up. I was afraid of distracting you. If something happened that affected your exams, I'd never forgive myself. Ethan sighed. He guessed that was the reason. But as long as this wasn't resolved, Tank would always be held back by his gambler father. Tank's face darkened, looking miserable and stifled. He tipped his head back and downed another mouthful of beer, drowning his sorrows. Ethan pulled a pack of Marlboro Reds from his pocket, shook one out, and handed it to him. Want one? Tank took the cigarette and the lighter without hesitation. Click! The lighter flared. Tank took a clumsy, massive drag. Cough, cough, cough. The strong smoke choked him, making him cough repeatedly until tears came out. Cough. So strong. Choked me to death. It was his first time smoking. Ethan chuckled lightly. Who told you to take such a big drag? Take it slow. Some things can't be rushed. You'll get there eventually. With that, he lit a Marlboro for himself, took a slow drag, and practiced blowing a smoke ring. The streetlights were dim yellow, the smoke blurring his face. Tank mimicked Ethan, taking a slow drag. Finally adapting, he shook his head and smiled. This stuff really relieves stress. Ethan, thank you for pulling me up. We're brothers. It's what I should do. Ethan flicked the ash and looked at Tank. Tank, smoking, looked like he had grown up a lot. Next time he comes for money, you must tell me. I'll help you. Tank's eyes glistened with tears. He said gratefully, Ethan, I know. Ethan patted his shoulder, comforting him. Why are you crying? Men don't cry easily. Tank wiped his eyes and gave a goofy grin. Okay, I'll listen to you. By the way, my mom keeps saying she wants to invite you over. She says you helped me so much, and we haven't even had you over for dinner. She nagged me about being rude several times. I told her you were busy with exams, but she wouldn't listen. Ethan smiled. All right, let's get the opening done first. Once we officially open, we'll go to your place to celebrate. Tank was overjoyed. Really? That's great. I'll have my mom make a feast. We'll see then. By the way, Tank, what major do you want to study in college? Ethan asked suddenly. Tank scratched his head, looking lost. Honestly, I don't know. Ethan, you know me. I've never had much ambition. I don't know what work I could do later. Ethan shook his head. This was indeed the confusion many graduates faced. After exams, they faced choosing a major, but many didn't know what they wanted to study. Without a clear goal for the future, they would fall into confusion, eventually just listening to family or relatives and picking a major they knew nothing about. Then they'd muddle through 4 years of college, graduating only to be unemployed or switch careers immediately. Ethan didn't want Tank to become like that. He should have a better future, but the choice was up to him. All Ethan could do was guide him slightly, hoping he could find his own life goal. Tank, go back tonight, and before you sleep, really think about it. Think about what kind of person you want to be in 10 years. Maybe you'll have the answer yourself. Ethan smiled. Tank nodded heavily, serious. Ethan, I'll think about it properly. Here, drink. Ethan raised his beer. They clinked hands and drank it all. At 10 p.m., Ethan returned home. He turned on the light in his room. A moment later, there was a knock-knock on the window. He pulled back the curtains and saw Grace hadn't slept yet. She was standing behind her window in a nightgown, the evening breeze blowing her loose black hair like a night elf. Ethan, why are you back so late? Where did you go fooling around? Ethan grinned and leaned against the window. What? Miss me already? Grace lifted her chin arrogantly. Who missed you? I am fulfilling my supervisory duties. Don't forget, Auntie gave me inspection rights. So, Inspector Grace isn't sleeping this late just to wait for her humble servant to return. Ethan saw right through her. Grace blushed and turned her head away. Haha, I just have insomnia. Suddenly, 2 thumb-sized cockroaches flew into Ethan's room from outside, startling him. Whoa, giant roaches. These were American cockroaches, also known as palmetto bugs. Twice the size of normal roaches, and they fly. Roaches? Where? Let me kill them. Grace shouted excitedly. Ethan, understood. Princess Grace really was different. Ethan, did cockroaches fly into your room? Don't be afraid, don't panic. Let me come smack them. Grace shouted repeatedly, then turned and dashed away from her window. Ethan twitched his lips. This girl still loved small creatures so much. He remembered when they were about 6 or 7, a group of kids were digging in the dirt in the neighborhood. Suddenly, a caterpillar fell from a tree. The other kids were scared to tears and ran away. Only Grace curiously poked it with a stick, even lifting it up to show everyone. She said in a baby voice, "What's there to be afraid of?" At the time, she even took the caterpillar home to play. But later, wanting to test its elasticity, she accidentally pulled it in two. Later, she performed various bold acts including, but not limited to, burning cockroaches, pouring hot water on ants, and sticking needles in flies. A moment later, there was a knock on the door. Ethan went to open it. Grace darted into the room. Where are the roaches? I'm ready. She raised a flip-flop in her hand. The ultimate weapon against roaches. Should still be in the room. Inspector, I leave it to you. Ethan laughed. Don't worry, little Ethan. Lead the way. I'll handle them. Grace said proudly. They returned to the room and found the 2 cockroaches clinging motionless to the wall, seemingly unafraid of humans. This was a characteristic of these giant roaches. They flew, and they were bold enough to move in the light. For such pests, everyone had the right to execute them. Grace narrowed her eyes, slowly raised her slipper, and crept closer. When she was about a meter away, she stopped and suddenly hurled the slipper from her hand. The movement was clean and swift. The slipper flew like a hidden projectile, accurately hitting one of the roaches on the wall. Smack! The slipper flattened it instantly. The roach corpse fell down with the shoe. Ethan was stunned by the scene. Holy crap, that was impressive. She's a human weapon. However, the noise startled the other cockroach, which scurried further up the wall, trembling in the corner of the ceiling. Grace sized it up, frowning slightly. This guy is smart. Knows to hide in the corner. Can't throw the shoe now. If she missed, it might crawl out the window or drop somewhere hard to reach. What to do? Grace touched her chin, thought for a moment, then turned to Ethan. Little Ethan, help me out. Me? How? Ethan pointed at himself, puzzled. I'm not tall enough. Pick me up. Lift me. Grace rolled her eyes at him. This. Ethan glanced at Grace in her loose nightgown. Her fair, slender legs beneath the hem were eye-catching. Gulp. He swallowed and grinned. Sure, happy to help. Grace didn't look at him. Her attention was entirely on the remaining cockroach. She walked to the wall and whispered, I'm ready. You have to hold steady. Is your strength okay? Ethan patted his chest. Don't worry, no problem. Okay, let's go. Grace said seriously. Ethan stood behind her, placing his hands on her narrow waist. The moment he touched her, Ethan realized just how thin her waist was, and it was soft. The tactile sensation was excellent. Ethan subconsciously gave a little squeeze. Grace felt the hands misbehaving at her waist. It felt like a current of electricity shot through her. Her face flushed, and she turned to glare at him. What are you doing? If you tickle me again, I won't help you kill the roach. I'll let you sleep with it. Cough, habit. Ethan laughed awkwardly. Grace refocused. You have to hold on tight. 3 to 1. Grace counted down, took a breath, and with the help of Ethan's lift, she jumped up. Ethan used all his strength to lift her. He realized she was quite light, probably under 100 pounds. But even so, his arm started to shake. He couldn't hold it for long. Grace, hurry up. Ethan, hold on. Don't lose your strength. I don't want to. You got heavier. I did not. You're just weak. Grace stretched her arm, barely reaching, and slapped hard. Smack. The remaining cockroach was flattened. Got it. Grace shouted happily. But Ethan's arms gave out. He stumbled back and fell onto the bed. His hands let go, and Grace fell with him, landing right on top of him. Thump, creak, the bed frame groaned. Not only did Ethan fall onto the bed, but having Grace land on his stomach almost made him throw up tonight's dinner. Ethan, are you okay? Grace turned her head, asking with concern. Ethan's face was purple. He gasped weakly. Can you get off me first? Grace only then realized she was sitting on him. She gave a dry laugh and quickly stood up. It's your own fault for not holding up. She grabbed his leg with one hand and twisted it backward. Ow! Ethan was flipped over, his leg firmly pinned by Grace. Let go. Murdering your husband. Grace's face burned. She spat, Pa, what husband? Shameless. But she let go of his leg. Stupid Ethan, dare to call me fat? Is this called fat? Clearly standard model figure, okay. All right, You deal with the corpses yourself. I'm going back to sleep. Grace waved and picked up her slipper to leave. Hey, Grace, can't you clean up the bodies while you're at it? Take them with you. Ethan shouted, sitting up. Grace put her hands behind her back, turning around like a lonely master of martial arts. I only handle the killing, not the burying. With that, she walked out of the room without looking back. Ethan laughed dumbly. This girl really knows how to act cool. Fine, I'll clean it myself. Ethan swept up the roach bodies and went to wash up. When he came out, he saw the light in Grace's room was already out. Asleep already? Ethan drew the curtains, turned on his computer, and prepared to continue grinding on the antivirus software. As soon as he logged on a Messenger, he saw Grace's alt account was online. Good grief. Turns out she turned off the lights to secretly play on the computer. Beep, beep, beep. Aqua Girl sent a message. Ethan opened it. Aqua Girl, hey F, let me tell you a horror story. I saw it on the forums. Ethan, what? Aqua Girl, once upon a time, a scholar met a nice lady on the road. The scholar secretly said the lady was fat. Ethan, and then? Aqua Girl, and then he was beaten to death. Ethan, what kind of lame ghost story is that? Ethan typed back. Aqua Girl, isn't it scary? Oh, I just skipped the part where the scholar gets tortured and killed. Didn't want to freak you out. You don't think there are guys like that scholar in real life, do you? TSK. They'd end up in a world of hurt. On the other side, Grace was squeezing her pink pig plushie's face, her expression icy as she glared at the screen. You jerk, Ethan. Next time you call me fat, I'll tear you limb from limb. With that, she kicked the pig onto the bed. Beep, beep, beep. A new message popped up on AIM. She focused on it. Ford, probably not. At least, I'm not like that. Grace's eyes widened, nearly spitting blood in rage. You stinking Ford, shameless jerk. The day after the SATs wrapped up was the date for Mary's surgery. Ethan didn't go anywhere. He and Grace just waited at the hospital. The operation started in the morning and didn't finish until lunchtime. When the doctor came out and said everything went smoothly, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Mary woke up that same day once the anesthesia wore off, and she was in pretty good spirits. During rounds, the doctor went over her post-op care, diet, daily routine, and said the surgery was a complete success. If recovery went well, she could be discharged in as little as 2 weeks. But even after that, she'd need 6 months of rest, no heavy lifting until the incision fully healed before going back to work. Hearing the doctor's words, Ethan felt the weight lift from his chest. A couple days later, Ethan picked up his diploma from school, snapped a class photo, and that was it, graduation. It felt like a bird breaking free from its cage. No more SAT pressure, just soaring into freedom. With family stuff sorted, Ethan and Tank headed to the tech tower early Saturday morning. He looked up a company online called Sterling Tech Distributors. They handled multiple brands of computer parts and were a top-tier dealer in Chicago. They carried all sorts of motherboards, Gigabyte, Oshrock, Intel knockoffs, plus graphics card from other brands. They had some clout in the tech tower. Ethan brought Tank straight to their office. The receptionist heard they were looking to buy parts and called over a sales manager. In a small meeting room, Ethan waited a bit before the door opened. A middle-aged guy in a suit and tie, hair slicked back, walked in with a smile. Hey there, I'm Nick Zander, sales manager at Sterling. Nice to meet you. I'm Ethan Ford. Here's my card. Ethan handed over his simple business card, swapping with the guy. Nick glanced at the card, just West Ford Electronics and the name. He sized up Ethan and Tank. They look way too young, maybe early 20s. Starting a business this young? Hey, have a seat, you two. So, what parts are you looking to stock? We're a primary distributor, handle a bunch of brands. You'll get the best prices in the city here. Nick sat down, smiling politely. Ethan thought for a second, then smiled. We're definitely interested in a shipment, but we like to propose a different kind of partnership. Could Sterling front us some inventory? We'd sell it and take half the profit, splitting the rest with you. Consignment basis, basically. What do you think? Nick blinked, caught off guard. It wasn't unheard of, but only big dealers with solid channels and quick turnover pulled it off. A no-name shop like this? What gave them the confidence? If they couldn't move the stock, who'd eat the loss on open boxes? And if payments dragged, he'd be on the hook. Nick's face cooled. Ethan, that puts me in a tough spot. Ethan smiled. I get it. You might not trust our ability. But I can guarantee, if we don't sell the whole batch, we'll buy the rest at your full price. We can sign a contract. It's win-win for you. No risk. For us, it eases the cash flow pressure. What do you say? Hearing about the contract and full buyback, Nick perked up a bit. He mulled it over. That's a solid idea, Ethan. But I can't decide solo. Gotta run it by the higher-ups and discuss before we set a precedent. No problem. We'll wait for the good news. Ethan smiled. Nick looked at him, surprised. This kid seemed awfully sure it'd work out. All right, once we hash it out, I'll let you know ASAP. Nick nodded, but his tone was cooler. He wasn't optimistic. Westford Electronics? Never heard of it. Handing over stock blindly was risky. Ethan stood, smiling. Looking forward to it, Nick. If that's all, we'll head out. Take care, Ethan. They shook hands and said goodbye. Ethan and Tank left Sterling, but right outside, they ran into a familiar face. Well, if it isn't Ethan Ford. Sal Higgins beamed, glancing at him smugly. Since forcing Ethan out, he'd been raking it in daily. After kicking a cut to Gary Holt, the rest was his. It felt amazing. Once he expanded repairs, his business would skyrocket. But bumping into Ethan at the tech tower, at Sterling no less, threw him off. What was this kid doing here? Sal, living the high life, huh? Ethan sneered, hand behind his back, no interest in shaking. Hey, yeah, thanks to you. Sal's chubby face glowed with satisfaction. Ethan chuckled. It's only been a few days. Don't celebrate too soon, Sal. Tank, let's go. Tank shot Sal a death glare as they passed. Sal's face darkened, staring coldly at their backs. Ha, a couple of punks think they can take me on. I'll bury you. Sal turned and strode into Sterling, up to the front desk. I've got an appointment with Nick Xander. Tell him Sal Higgins from Higgins Tech is here. The receptionist nodded. Sure, 1 SEC. She called, spoke briefly, then hung up. Moments later, Nick hurried out, all smiles. Ah, Sal. Congrats on the windfall. Heard your repair, sides booming. Nick flattered. Sal chuckled. Just scraping by. By the way, Nick, what were those two kids doing here? Nick paused, wondering why he asked. Them? Couple of young guys from Westford Electronics. Wanted a batch on consignment. What? Sal smirked coldly. Nothing. Just wondering if you could do me a small favor. Ford, that fat pig's heading to Sterling too. Looks like he's going in. Tank glanced back, whispering. Sterling's a major distributor. He's probably stocking up. Ignore him. Next, we'll pay Neil a visit. Ethan said calmly. He said it casually, but inside he was wary. He and Sal were rivals now, direct competitors. Once Westford opened, it had cut into Sal's repairs, even his PC sales. Both shops would undercut tech tower prices, pushing fast, efficient fixes. Full-on war. Business was a battlefield. Kill or be killed. Cutthroat as hell. Seeing Sal here, Ethan mentally weighed the angles. Gotta watch out. Don't let that fatso pull a fast one. Sal wasn't some benevolent type. He was a shark, anything for profit. They took the elevator to the 3rd floor, but Ethan kept going down. Tank reminded him, Ford, Neil's shop is on 3. Ethan rolled his eyes, chuckling. I know. You think we're showing up empty-handed. Come on, downstairs first. Call him, see if he's in, then grab a gift. Tank grinned sheepishly, scratching his head. You're always one step ahead, Ford. Ethan called Neil from the lobby. It rang briefly. Hey, Ethan, got some business for me? Neil's hearty laugh came through. Neil, I'm at the tech tower handling stuff. Wanted to swing by if you're around. Maybe bum a couple cups of coffee off you. Ethan laughed. I'm here. Come on over. Cool, be there soon. He hung up, then led Tank to a specialty coffee shop next door. Picked up 2 pounds of premium Kona beans. Last time they grabbed a bite, Ethan had casually asked around about Neil's tastes. Knew he loved coffee, especially bold, aromatic roasts. Kona was strong, with a smooth finish, top-shelf stuff. Should hit the spot. The 2 pounds set him back $60. Pricey, but Ethan paid without flinching. For this coffee. Ain't cheap, Tank whispered as they left, wide-eyed. Ethan shook his head, smiling. Not all. Just right. Tank, gifting's an art. Too cheap, no sincerity. Too pricey, burdens him. Depends on who and why. For a big deal, you drop serious cash. Fine jewelry, watches, antiques. If they accept, it's pretty much sealed. But for Neil, not too basic, not overkill. $60 worth of coffee's perfect. Remember that. Tank nodded, enlightened. Got it, Ford. I'll keep it in mind. Ethan smiled. All right, let's head up. They went back to 3, to Neil's shop. Neil was waiting out front, beaming as he spotted them. Haha, Ethan. There you are. Ethan held up the bag. Came for that coffee. Look, brought my own beans, try 'em out. Neil eyed the bag, surprised. This kid thought of everything. Aw, man, you didn't have to. I've got plenty brewing already. You're too polite. Ethan grinned. Couldn't show up empty-handed, right? Here, rare Kona beans. Bold and smooth. Give him a whirl. Neil's eyes lit up. Uh-huh. How'd you know I'm a Kona fan? This stuff's gold. Come on in. Neil led them to the back lounge, where they chatted over fresh brews, small talk about everything under the sun. Ethan subtly probed about Neil's upstream suppliers. Learned Neil was tight with a guy named Frank Zane at Southbridge Traders. Got all his PCs and parts from there. They hit the lake for fishing sometimes, half fishing buddies. Ethan just listened, not rushing to ask for the favor. As lunchtime hit, Neil checked the clock. Noon already. Ethan, let's grab a bite, my treat. Ethan smiled. Nah, how could I? Tank already booked a private room nearby. Come on, join us for a couple drinks. During the chat, he'd texted Tank to reserve a local steakhouse. Neil chuckled, eyes appreciative. This kid was smooth as silk. Not like most his age. He'd sensed Ethan wanted something, but waited patiently. If it wasn't too much, he'd help. No question. Dealing with this kid felt easy. All right, you got my coffee. I'll take your booze. Huh, Neil boomed. They left the shop for the nearby grill. In the private booth, food and drinks arrived. Ethan and Tank took turns toasting. Neil matched everyone. After a few rounds, plates half empty, Ethan saw Neil tipsy. Perfect timing. Neil, truth is, I came today 'cause I need a favor. Ethan smiled. Neil grinned, knowing it was coming. Figured as much. Spill it. If I can help, I'm in. No hesitation. Ethan felt a pang of gratitude at his sincerity. You know my shop's renovated, ready to open, just need inventory. But cash is tight after family stuff, and launch is urgent. So, I want to approach a distributor for consignment. I'm not tight with the big players at Tech Tower. Landing consignment solo's tough, so hoping you could introduce me. Ethan said earnestly. Neil laughed, relieved. That's it? Thought it was something huge. Easy. I'll set you up with Frank Zane from Southbridge. Good buddy. We'll grab dinner, chat it out. Ethan brightened, relieved. He raised his glass. Thanks a ton, Neil. Neil clinked. Piece of cake. Here's to your grand opening. Packed house, booming business. Here's to that. Ethan laughed. They clinked and drained their glasses. Ethan's mind raced. He paused. Neil, you mentioned redoing your shop. I whipped up some designs. Tank will drop him off soon. Neil beamed, cupping his hands. Awesome, thanks. No biggie. Ethan grinned. If Neil was bridging the intro, Ethan was happy to return the favor with designs. Favors went both ways, built stronger ties. They set a rough timeline, 1 or 2 days. Neil lock in with Frank and call. Ethan knew Neil was straightforward. Once committed, he'd move fast. Lunch wrapped. Ethan walked Neil back, then headed to the shop with Tank. At the door, Ethan slumped in a chair, buzz hitting hard. You good for it? Tank handed over a juice, concerned. Ethan winced. Yeah, just. Body's not used to it. Bit dizzy. Tank frowned. You and Neil pounded a full bottle of whiskey each. Crash here tonight. Don't head home. Nah, I'll shake it off. Ethan waved him off, lounging, staring at the afternoon sun. Tank, in business, deals mean drinks. Except the top dogs, they're beyond schmoozing. That's our goal. That level. No more boozing yourself sick. Till then, it's unavoidable. Ethan mused, thoughts drifting to his past self at the pinnacle. Tank pondered, nodding. Your dream, Ford. Ethan turned, smiling. Shouldn't it be yours too? Tank jolted, eyes opening wide. He nodded firmly. Yeah, Ford. I get it. Ethan chuckled. Comrades, same goals, same path. Only then do we go far. Tank grinned sheepishly, scratching his head. Hey, I just want to help, not hold you back. Tank, I've seen you grow these weeks. You'll go places, I believe it. Ethan smiled. Tank's blood pumped, thrilled at the nod. I'll hustle harder, Ford. Ethan rubbed his temple, dizzy from the whiskey. No joke. Gonna crash on the couch. He staggered inside, flopping on the customer lounge sofa. Booze and fatigue hit. He dozed off. No idea how long, but Grace's voice pierced through. You lazy bum, Ethan. How long you planning to sleep? Seriously, like a log. Get up, or I'm out of here. Ethan stirred. Dream. He cracked his eyes. Vision cleared. A stunning face hovered. Oval arched brows, creamy skin, pert nose, full lips. Sparkling eyes fixed on him lively. She radiated youthful freshness. Natural beauty. No makeup needed. Ethan stared, mesmerized. Grace. Wasn't I napping at the shop? Why is she here? Grace puffed her cheeks, glaring. Finally awake? Ethan sat up awkwardly, glancing around. Dark outside. Just him in the shop. How long was I out? What are you doing here? Over 4 hours. It's dark. Grace huffed. Tank had to head home for dinner. Worried about you. Called and asked me to check in. Quite the champ, huh? Day drinking till you're wasted. If Mom hadn't told me to watch you, I'd leave you to rot. Ethan grinned. Really? Thanks, Your Highness. How can I repay? Marry you? Grace's eyes bulged, fuming. You jerk. Turning kindness into betrayal? Ethan. Ahem, Grace, come on. I'm decent looking, charming even. Grace sized him up. Those words don't suit you. Not even close. Get up, let's go. You reek of smoke and booze. SAT's over, and you're already wild. She said it, but handed him milk. Sober up. Don't wreck your stomach. Ethan grinned, taking it. Grace, tough talk, soft heart. She cares, right? He chugged. Your Highness giving me a ride? Or I'll wobble into a ditch on my bike. Grace rolled her eyes. This jerk, always trouble. But Tank said he drank for a deal to launch smooth. Idiot Ethan, all work, no sense. Boozing like that, gonna wreck himself? Fine, whatever. Guess I'll cut him slack. Grace thought, but saw him rubbing temples, wincing. You okay? Concerned. Fine, just headache, hangover. It'll pass. Ethan forced a smile. Grace recalled Dad's hangovers, killer headaches. Mom always massaged them away. Fine, I'll rub it. She sat beside, hands gently kneading. Whoa, her touch soothed, pain eased. Grace, lighter, gonna rub off skin. Like this. Yeah, good. Faster now. So picky. This speed. Perfect, feels great. What a pain. Grace pouted, reluctant to pamper him. Ethan smirked. Your Highness has skills. Her fingers were silky soft, pure bliss. Grace huffed, pressing harder on his temples. Ow. Easy, Grace. Oops, sorry, slipped a bit. Grace, keep this up. You'll get the silent treatment. I'm terrified, but before that, can I bury you? Ethan sensed the menace, her hands stiffening. He chuckled dryly. Ahem, kidding. Don't be like that. His neck was in her hands. Best not poke the bear. Grace snorted smugly, easing up. Fine. You seem perky. Must be okay. Let's go. She stood, heading out. Grace, wait up. Right outside, they bumped into Henry and Hannah Payne, siblings back from errands. Ford bro, Miller sis, you heading home? Hannah's big eyes asked. Hangover cure. Henry silently offered a bottle of pills. Ethan took it. Thanks, Henry. Clean up, then lock up and rest. Henry nodded. Will do, Ford. Grace called from ahead. Ethan coming? Or I'm gone. Coming. Grace, don't pedal yet, wait. Or I'll jump on. Ethan leaped onto the bike's rear rack. The force tipped it. They tumbled over. You idiot, Ethan. Grace scrambled up, hands on hips, glaring. Your fault. Told you to stop. Take this. Whoa, missed. Damn, stop running. Come get me. Catch me, and I'll let you. Hith. Wait till I grab you. I'll break your bones. They chased and laughed on the street. Hannah giggled. Bro, look how fun Ford bro and Miller sis are having. Henry's lips curved in a rare, anti-smile. Yeah, Ford's lucky with a childhood sweetheart like that. Enviable. Enough, Ethan, no more. Heading home. Grace panted, stopping. Fine, I'm dizzy anyway. Ethan clutched his forehead, faking wooziness. Grace shot him a glare. Faking? You were sprinting fine. Always picking on me. She righted the bike. Idiot, hop on. Right. Ethan grinned, settling steadily on the back. Grace pedaled off. Ethan caught her scent, hair and natural fragrance. Unique, fresh, invigorating. He wrapped arms around her slim waist, pulling close. Grace felt the hug, cheeks flushing, heart racing. Jerk, hugging so tight, tickles, but he's buzzed, might fall without it. She let slide. On the road, Ethan watched neon lights blur by. Grace, favorite animal? Cats. Meow. Grace. Then I like dogs. Woof woof. Grace. Ethan, you're shameless, top of all time, hands down. Thanks. Grace, shameless wins the world. Ethan chuckled low. Invincibility's lonely. Grace huffed, then asked, Ethan, you eager to make money fast? Yeah, don't earn now, you'll age out. They say nothing's impossible for the rich. Money smooths life's BS. Ethan chuckled lightly. Nothing's impossible for the rich? You got away with words. Grace giggled. Ain't it true? Some born with silver spoons, others as workhorses. No hustle. You're just fodder. Grace pondered, nodding. Deep insight, Ethan. Of course. Otherwise, I'd be a monk by now. But even then, I want you next door as a nun. Ethan hugged tighter, wishing the moment froze. Grace with him, never leaving. Dream on. I ain't found a guy yet. Why go none? Grace sassed. A guy? How about me? You? Nah. Ethan. Grace, sharp tongue. Really? You're the pest. So annoying. Grace, I'm telling you, don't get cocky. Now, what you gonna do? A bike, two riders, bantering in goofy accents, drawing stares. These kids from the islands? Night deepened. They reached the neighborhood, stopping downstairs. All right, Ethan in the line. Grace turned. Queen did well today. I'll reward you soon. Ethan hopped off, teasing. Reward my ass. Go shower and sleep. Man, I'm beat. Next time you're wasted, I'll ditch you on the street. Ethan chuckled dryly, stomach growled. He'd only had lunch, starving. He had Grace pitifully. Grace blinked. What? Ethan batted lashes, puppy-eyed. Grace, you wouldn't let me starve, right? Grace, you wouldn't watch me starve, right? She stared seriously, nodding. I would. Ethan wailed dramatically. Grace, how heartless. Grace rolled her eyes. Cut the act. Heat up the leftovers yourself. I'm not your maid. Your folks left food. Me? Fine. They headed upstairs to Grace's place. Her parents weren't home. Huh, where's Uncle and Aunt? Ethan looked around. Visiting the hospital, back later. Grace said offhand. I'll heat the food. Ethan hit the kitchen, self-sufficient. He warmed the leftovers, spotted half a pumpkin in the pantry. Why not pumpkin soup? Warm and soothing. He peeled, sliced, tossed it in a pot with broth to simmer. Poor kids grew up fast. He'd cooked basics since middle school. Later married life, he handled meals while Lucy critiqued, honing his skills to please her picky palate. Pumpkin soup seemed simple, but timing was key for broth thickness, pumpkin tenderness. Underdone, raw bite. Over, mushy, loses sweet freshness. Perfect, creamy broth, chunks bursting with flavor. Lingering delight, total comfort. Ethan set medium heat, stirring occasionally, checking doneness. Half-hour later, Grace emerged from her room. Ethan, what's taking so long? Food not hot yet. Then she sniffed. Smells amazing. What's that jerk cooking? So good. Done. Ethan called, carrying out the pot on a trivet. Steam rose, pumpkin aroma filling the room, making Grace salivate. She hurried over, eyeing the golden, creamy soup. Looked delicious. Sniffing close, eyes wide. Smells incredible. Ethan, didn't know you had chops. He brought out warm sides, potato hash with bacon, garlic greens. Grace, lots you don't know. He grabbed bowls, serving himself a ladleful, sipping dramatically. Hits the spot. Grace watched, drooling like a cat. Ethan, can I try some? Sure, but one condition. What? Another head rub later, 20 minutes my specs. Me? No. He sipped again, smacking. So good. Guess a miss out. Damn. 10 minutes. Deal. Grace grabbed a bowl, scooping big, sitting beside to dig in. First spoonful. Cooled, slurped. Creamy broth, distinct chunks. Tongue melted them into sweet bliss. Eyes sparkled. Delish. She demolished the bowl in minutes. Still hungry, eyed the pot. Ethan smiled indulgently. Go for it. I can't finish. Thanks. Another scoop. They slurped silently, focused. Ethan stopped at half full. Late eating caused insomnia. He turned, watching Grace, hair cascading, veiling her profile like a half-hidden melody. Under table, legs swinging in delight. Ethan smiled. Grace, adorable. She sensed it, glancing. What? Nothing. Just admiring my girlfriend. Ethan propped his chin, staring outright. Grace faltered, then bonked his forehead. You jerk, teasing again? Ethan yelped, rubbing. Grace, you got violent streaks. Grace snorted, locking his head in a playful choke. Your fault, take this. Stop. Grace, you ate my soup. Now turning on me. She glanced at the pot. For the soup's sake, you're spared. Tease again, I'll rip you. Ethan. Big reaction from her. Ahem, done eating? Full. Almost why? Grace eyed him warily. Forgot our deal? Ethan smirked. Grace remembered. Soup for rub. Deflated. Fine, whatever. She finished, clear dishes washed up. Back out. Ethan waved from her doorway. Gracie, done? Come on over. His sleazy tone and grin screamed sketchy. Chicago's own sleazeball. EW, gives me chills. Grace rubbed arms, disgusted. But she entered anyway. Inside, Ethan sprawled on the bed, limbs out. Let's do this, can't wait. Grace glared. Jerk, don't push it. Wouldn't dream. Do I look the type? It's not looks, you are. Hey, you know me. Grace. She sat reluctantly, checking clock. 10 minutes, I'm timing. Can we extend? Huh, add time? No. What techniques you got? Techniques? Hot-cold combo, wave push, deep dive, stuff like that. What nonsense? I don't know those. Fine, standard then. If you weren't cute, I complain to management. Grace. This ain't a spa. Take that. Cheeks red. She twisted his ear. Ow. Let go. Grace huffed, resuming the rub. Ethan relaxed, eyes shut, still not enough. Grace, clean my ears too? She glared. Don't overdo it. Add a rocket pop. Jerk, it's not about a pop. 2. Deal. Grace licked lips, grabbing cotton swabs. Ethan smirked. Handle Grace? 1 pop usually did it. If not 2. No fail. She returned with swabs and tissues, but angle awkward with him sideways. Up, head here. She patted thigh. Ethan peeked, thrilled. Really? Okay. Grace rolled eyes. Done it before, shy now? Yeah, a tad bashful. He shifted, head on her lap, soft, springy. Emperor's knee pillow bliss. King's new luxury. He inhaled, her scent intoxicating. Don't squirm, or you'll go deaf. Grace warned. Got it. She swabbed gently, carefully, avoiding pain. Grace, softer. Gentle probe, not deep, right spot twist. Yeah, comfy. So demanding. Grace puffed cheeks, grumbling. But she lightened up. Ethan lay, enjoying the itch relief, blissful. Too comfy, drowsiness hit. Soon, snoring. Grace focused, missing it. Finished one ear, went for swap, looked down, saw him out. Jerk, asleep again? Booze that strong. She muttered, but let him rest on her lap. 10 minutes later, deep sleep. She eased his head off. Jerk, numb my legs. Rubbing, wincing. She pulled a chair, sat watching. Clear features, tired lines, heart tugging. Why push so hard for cash? Risking health. Drinking nonstop. Liver failure waiting. Propping chin, mumbling. Recalled his joking words, blushed. Uffed. Girlfriend? Date me, you'd regret it. He was kidding, right? Yeah. Grace, quit overthinking. Jerk's just teasing. Totally. No truth from his mouth. Childhood flashed. 6 years old. Ethan's living room. Mary bought house building blocks. They play house. Ethan, runny nose, pointed at a block guy. I'm dad. I'm mom. Grace, pigtails, raised hand. Ethan sniffled. Mom says you need a baby to be mom. No baby, no mom. No, I want to be mom. How get baby? Grace huffed, hands on hips. Ethan scratched. Mom says kiss makes baby. Grace puffed cheeks, offering hers. Kiss me, I want baby. Okay. He leaned, smooched her cheek. Now you'll be mom soon. Yeah, gonna be mom. Can we play now? Grace bounced. Ethan wiped nose on sleeve. Yeah, I'm dad, your mom. Later, she bragged about being mom to both parents. Adults roared laughing. Recalling now, total cringe, toes curling a mansion. Grace flushed, glaring at sleeping Ethan. Your fault, jerk. Footsteps outside. Crap, parents home. Knock, knock. Grace brought fruit, want some? Lily asked. Grace blocked door. No thanks, mom. Bedtime. Already? Okay, rest up. Lily puzzled, left. Grace sighed as steps faded, glanced at Ethan. Wake and boot him. But his exhaustion softened her. Fine, crash here tonight. But where do I sleep? Next morning, Ethan stirred, rolling, face hit something cool, liquid splashed. Hiss, cough, jolted awake, wiped wet face, confused. Who am I? Where? Saw Grace beside. He'd knocked a water glass. Ethan bitter laughed. Grace, really? Think I'm that bad? Noise woke her. Oh God. Ethan, you wet the bed. Groggy, feeling damp sheets, freaked. You did. Grace realized the glass. Her setup. But my sheets soaked. Ethan, wash him properly. Me? What? Your mess. Hey, your water, my bad. Your fault, big moves. They stared down. Ethan caved. Fine, I'll wash. Gentleman thing. Grace bared teeth cutely. Damn right. Last night you stunk of booze. No shower. Sheets and blanket reek. Ethan sniffed, yep. Guilty, he smiled. Okay, I'll take him home. Wash everything. Grace arms crossed, satisfied. Better. Ethan eyed her nightie, hiked up almost, blushed bashful. Grace, cover up. She looked, nightie written high. Jerk, Ethan. Take this. Thud. Kicked off bed. Hour later. Grace in baggy sweats, supervising from door as he stripped sheets. Faster, guy so slow. Fast as I can, quit rushing. No. Fine, you win, boss. You? Nothing. He bundled sheets and blanket. Done. Washing at home. Quick. Wring dry. Or it'll take days. Got it, Grace. You sound like a tycoon now. Keep talking. See tycoon wrath. Ethan fled with bundle. Escape first. Grace watched his scramble, bursting into giggles. Jerk, you got yours. I'll fix you. Home. Ethan showered, washed Grace's stuff, hung to dry. Noon hit. Prepping to raid Grace's for food. Phone rang. Neil calling. Answered. Hearty laugh. Ethan, good news. Set dinner with Frank. Mentioned your thing. He's in. Tomorrow, 6 p.m., Lotus Lounge. Don't forget. Ethan thrilled. Neil pulled through. Dinner meant half win. No instant yes from Frank. Other half is hustle. Awesome. Thanks, Neil. Big help. Neil boomed. Nah, you're play now, but I got faith. Ethan smiled. Cool, on time. By the way, who's all there? Just us three. Neil? Nah. Frank's bringing 3. Total 6. Ethan curious. Frank bringing extras? Ooh. Neil? Circle dealers, plus a beauty, his secretary. Ethan nodded. Frank respecting Neil, bringing peers. If consignment lands with Frank, others might follow. Neil's got pull. All right. See you at Lotus tomorrow. Chatted, hung up. Ethan stroked chin, serious. Tomorrow's key. Launch hinges on it. That afternoon, Ethan called Tank over to plan dinner. Tank pulled Marlboro Reds, offered one. Forward smoke? Ethan took it, surprised. Carrying packs now? Tank grinned sheepishly. Gata, in business. Ethan eyed the cheap pack. Next, stock camels too. Red's for us. I'll spot cash, buy carton for the shop, carry some. Tank nodded. Got it, Ford. He lit, sparked Ethan's, then his. Ethan inhaled, thinking. Tank later gifts. 5 total. Neil hooked us up. Eager, show thanks. Frank's our target, gift him right. Other 2 dealers, can't skip, or seem cheap. Frank's secretary, not lavish, avoid pressure. Nice trinket. Tank jotted on notepad, sig dangling. You're thorough, Ford. What gifts? Ethan puffed, brain churning, recalling Neil's chats on Frank for clues. Flash, Neil said they fished lake sometimes. Idea sparked, fishing rod. Not extravagant. First meet, too much screams agenda. But unique. Frank, fishing rod. Neil, gourmet coffee tin. Other bosses, matching desk sets. Secretary, fancy pen. Ethan exhaled. Tank mulled, admiring. Smart, Ford works. What you see? Ethan quizzed, squinting smile. Frank fishes, Neil coffees. Unknowns get neutral sets, elegant, liked. Secretary, small thing. Right, Ford. Ethan shook head, smiling. Close, but gift values. Frank's rod and Neil's coffee tie pricey. Then secretary. Boss's last. Tank puzzled. Why prioritize her? Ethan leaned back, blue ring-eyed Tank. Remember Neil said Frank's married. Kids, junior high age. Frank's late 30s, successful family man, with hot secretariat deals. Tank's face dawned. So, Ethan cut off. Don't assume. Observe first. Just means trust. Brings her to biz dinners. Tank swallowed words, nodding. Ah, wise Ford, learned again. He noted it. He noted it. Ethan stubbed sig. Set, let's shop. No pain, no gain. Spend where counts. Tank Stubb stood. Right, Ford. They bike markets, circles. Post-surgery, $2,000 left after hospital. Not enough launch, but gifts fine. Afternoon hunt. Got him. Frank, $70 Berkeley limited rod. Quality material, rare. Scoured markets for last one. Neil, $60 Ethiopian Yurgachev. Premium, unique flavor. Secretary, $28 gold-plated floral pen. Artistic, functional. Bosses, $10 each boutique desk sets. Pens, pads, holders. Not pricey, but classy. Even new Rich wanted culture. Fancy writing boosted image. Rich pursued refinement. Class marker. Next day noon, they wrapped it shop bag nicely. Afternoon, dress sharp, button-up slacks. 5 p.m., gifts in hand, cab to Lotus Lounge. Lotus Lounge, Skyview room, 5-seated. Head, white shirt, paunchy, slick-haired middle-aged Frank Zane. Left, Neil. Frank, scared-eyed bail. Not off work, but rushing. Neil teased. Frank chuckled. Skipped lunch to save room. Star by afternoon. Huh. By the way, when's your buddy Ethan? You rave about him. Curious what phenom warrants it. Neil smiled. Just called on way. He's solid. See for yourself. Frank laughed. Teasing me now. Then, right of him, blue suit skirt, wire glasses, curvaceous, poised beauty spoke softly. Neil's hype got me curious. Some wunderkind? Lana, no prodigy, just humble. Neil boosted Ethan, seeding good vibes for Frank and Lana Cole. Lana smiled faintly, catching intent, not pressing, eyed Frank. Frank nodded, turning to Neil. Humble youth rare these days. Charlie Joe, you agree? Right of Lana, 2 suited middle-agers. One rotund, piggy-eyed, Charlie Boone. Other balding, gold-rimmed glasses, scholarly, Joe Thompson. Both tech tower dealers. Yeah, Frank. Charlie's eyes squinted to slits, smiling. Joe adjusted glasses. Humble folks thrive. Neil's phone rang. Speak of the devil? Huh. Frank boomed. Neil checked, froze. Wally Tucker. Acquaintance but no pal, just biz. Wally, real name Wallace Tucker III. Hated it, went by Trace for thirdborn. Rough, petty, Neil kept distance. Wally called often, sent gifts, farm pumpkins, home fruits. Neil wasted much, annoyed, cleaning rod. Neil answered calmly. Hey, Wally, what's up? Biz. Neil, urgent matter. Discuss? Where you at? Dining at Lotus Lounge. Lotus? Huh. Nearby. Who else? Frank, Charlie. They're here. Frank too? Perfect. Room. Neil frowned. Uninvited, pushy. Refuse? Offend. Skyview. Neil sighed. Hung up, shook head. Wally's nearby, coming. Wally? That hick from the burbs. Frank asked. Neil nodded. Him. Whatever. Join for dinner. Frank shrugged. He knew Neil's setup. Wally unexpected. Neil'd have mentioned inviting. Soon, gray-suited, tan, buzz-cut middle-ager entered. Hey, bosses. Wally grinned, greeting, pausing, leering at Lana briefly, chuckling sleazily. Wally, free today? Charlie chuckled. Ah, urgent for Frank. Planned asking Neil for dinner. Lucky timing. Huh. Wally laughed, pulling Marlboro Reds, offering smokes. Neil reached. Wally bypassed, straight to Frank. Here, Frank, smoke. Wally fawned. Frank noted Neil's dropped hand, shook head inwardly. Wally, bridge burner. But took cig. Thanks, Wally. Wally distributed others. Neil asked. Neil read. Neil smiled neutrally, took, ear clipped, not lit. Wally, urgent what? Neil asked. Wally grimaced, sighed. Bad luck here? Storm collapsed warehouse. PCs, parts soaked. Lost 80% stock. Worse. Batch for delivery ruined. Deadline looms. No goods. Breach? Huge penalty. Frank, help please. Wally pleaded. Only Frank could rally quick. Hearing Frank here, raced over. Frank smiled evenly. Easy, chat over food. Neil starts serving. Neil nodded, seated Wally, then called Ethan. Quick connect. Hey, Ethan here. Lobby up soon. Haha, good, serving now. Neil laughed. Notified waiter. Booze food. Knock. Waiter opened. Ethan, tank entered. Neil rose, beaming. Ethan. Finally. Neil, unfair. Said 6 but early bird. Making me late. Self-punished 2 drinks. Ethan joked. Blame Frank, not me. Huh. Neil boomed. Sit here, intros. Neil introduced all, Ethan too. My buddy here's young. Owns shop. Gorgeous his design. Not just Reno. Interiors, PC repair whiz. At Tech Tower? Top 10 easy. All surprised. Young repair ace with shop? Rare. Frank and Lana eyed Ethan, appraising. Frank more shocked. Ethan, tank so youthful, suits couldn't hide boyish vibes. Is green? As hyped. Frank eyed him. Ethan met gaze. Nice meeting you, Frank. Neil raves about your stand-up ways. Honor seeing the man. Ethan steady. Ethan sharp too, own shop young. Promising. Frank polite. Ethan smiled, greeting others. With Wally, cool nod, no eye contact. Ethan noted, assessed alliances quick. Wally, low priority, Neil's chill vibe confirmed. Neil, didn't come empty, can't freeload. Small token. Ethan smiled, taking Tank's bag, handing over. Words shaded Wally. Wally flushed awkward. Indeed, empty-handed, sat silent. Lana adjusted glasses, intrigued by Ethan. Smooth kid. Neil smiled. Gifts for dinner? Too much. Here, not fancy, coffee tin. Ethan passed back. Thanks. Neil opened wooden box. Yurgachev. Ooh, Ethiopian. Neil pleased, like the unique brew. Ethan picked it thoughtful. Yep, try it. Save some. I'll sample next visit. Ethan laughed. Anytime. Neil happy. Frank overheard. Ethan eloquent, bonding seamless, natural. Unlike Wally bypassing bridge, Ethan gifted intro first. Respect. Kid got game. Neil's praise earned. Noted tanks extras. Ethan those? For Frank, Charlie Joe, small things. First meet, Hope Mentor's guide. Ethan humble. Us too. Frank surprised, gifts unplanned. Thoughtful. Modest. Ethan smiled, handing Frank's. Frank opened, dark brown sleek rod. Eyes brightened. Fishing rod. Berkeley Limited. Thanks, Ethan. Rare find. How do you know I fish? Neil blabbed. Frank appreciative. Neil blinked. Mentioned once, you remembered? Ethan shrugged. Good memory. Then desk sets to Charlie. Joe, surprised, thanked warmly, chatted closer. Last one. For Lana. Ethan smiled. Wally straightened, reaching. Wally. Hand hung awkward. Neil inwardly chuckled. Wally punked. Wally's face twisted, hand withdrawn, annoyed. Damn, I'm a boss. No mine? But her, secretary? Screw it, kid's blind. Mine. Lana startled, took gift. Opened. Exquisite pen, floral gold, jeweled. Like art. Lana beamed. Girls loved pretties. Gorgeous pen, thanks. Delighted. Welcome, trinket. Ethan smiled. Turned to Wally. Sorry, Wally, didn't know you'd join. Would've prepped one. Next time, promise. Wally's face soured, snarky. And no need, keep it. Not close. No schmoozing. Ethan caught tone, just smiled, ignored. Neil smoke. Ethan pulled reds, offered first lit. Neil chuckled, took puff. Detail impressed Frank more. Grateful to source. Kid knows etiquette. Younger than Wally, leagues better. Wally? Fool compared. Frank laughed, shifting. Ethan's here, food's up, no more chat. Sit, drink, talk. Wally eyed Ethan, irked at spotlight theft. Snide. Ethan drink? Or yogurt first? To better fit an American business context, implying a sleazy massage parlor rather than a communal bathhouse, so Frank's rejection feels more natural. Brand localization. changed the cosmetics brand from Isetan, Japanese department store, to Saks Fifth Avenue to fit the Chicago setting. Dialogue smoothing, refined the banter between Ethan and Grace to sound more like American teenagers in the year 2000. Terminology, insured SEO, and heuristic scanning are explained naturally within the 2000 tech context. Narrative flow clarified the interaction between Matt Thorne, P3.My mapping, and Zach Bell, Tony Zhang mapping, to establish the Arctic Systems 10-cent mapping storyline in Silicon Valley. Wally Trace, Tucker's comment, was a thinly veiled jab at Ethan Ford's age, implying he was still wet behind the ears. Neil Powers furrowed his brow and let out a soft huff. Mr. Tucker, don't underestimate my little brother Ethan's capacity for liquor. From what I've seen, you might not be able to drink him under the table. Tucker, having been rebuked, wanted to flare up, but seeing that the speaker was Neil Powers, he could only offer a resentment-filled smile. Neil, old pal, you must be joking. My tolerance isn't anything to write home about, but you know how it is. Drinking depends on who you're drinking with. If I'm drinking with you, Neil, then who cares about limits? We go until we drop, huh? Ethan laughed heartily, his voice carrying clearly across the table. Lana Cole covered her mouth, hiding a soft chuckle. This young man was sharp. He had just implied that Tucker wasn't worthy of drinking with him. His ability to hide a needle inside cotton was already masterfully developed. Young in age, but definitely not small in ambition or intellect. Truly interesting. Frank Zane, an old fox in the business world, heard the subtext in everyone's words clearly. However, he had no intention of getting involved. He simply sat back, securely perched on the fishing platform, watching the currents. Come on, fill them up. Let's have a round first. Everyone drink up. Today's a happy occasion. Frank sat at the head of the table, controlling the room. The others echoed his sentiments, standing up to clink glasses. The group drank and chatted, mostly about inconsequential things and industry trends. Beside them, Tucker was scratching his head in anxiety. He was desperate to solve his immediate predicament. If he couldn't deliver a large batch of computer parts soon, he would face massive breach of contract penalties. That would mean direct bankruptcy. Facing a life-or-death situation, how could he have the heart to drink? His face was grim as he mechanically joined the others for a few rounds, entirely unable to muster any joy. He glanced at Frank, who was laughing and chatting with Lana, gritted his teeth, and carried his glass over. Mr. Zane, regarding my issue, I really need to ask for your help. I'll down this glass first to show my respect. Tucker tilted his head and drained the liquor. Frank's expression didn't change. He maintained that same smiling facade. Easy. You and Neil are old friends, and that makes you my friend too. Of course, friends should help each other. Frank's words were a subtle reminder. Don't forget Neil Powers is the middleman here. It's inappropriate for you to bypass him to beg me. But Tucker was a simpleton who didn't catch the nuance in Frank's words. He hurriedly said, "Oh, Mr. Zane, it's my honor that you consider me a friend. Let me toast you another one." Behind him, Neil's face turned a few degrees colder. Tucker filled his glass to the brim and moved to clink it against Frank's. Frank laughed. How can it be just the two of us drinking? Shouldn't you have a few with Neil and the others first? This was his second hint, and this time the meaning was much more direct. Who would have thought Tucker would just wave his hand dismissively? Oh, drinking with Neil can wait. Mr. Zane, you have to give me a straight answer. I am critically short on stock right now. In the whole city of Chicago, the only person who can supply this much inventory is you, Mr. Zane. If you don't help me, brother, I'm going to be in ruin. Neil's eyes widened. He hadn't expected Tucker to say something so tactless. He cursed inwardly and angrily downed a drink by himself. Frank sneered in his heart. What does your ruin have to do with me? Is it your turn to sell me a sob story? This Wally Tucker was truly a fool, stupid beyond redemption. I hinted at you twice, and you still haven't reacted. Can a person like this really succeed in business? Failure is just a matter of time. With commercial competition so fierce these days, who among those making a fortune isn't a shrewd operator? With a brain like yours, Tucker, you shouldn't count on a future. Frank thought this, but his face remained amiable. Easy. Talk to Lana later about the handover and see what stock is needed. But lately the inventory in the warehouse has been mostly reserved. There might not be much surplus, so you should be mentally prepared, Mr. Tucker. Frank put the ugly truth out first. If he couldn't help later, he couldn't be blamed. In reality, Frank wasn't kind enough to want to help him. What actual benefit could he get? The goods were being borrowed, not sold. That was essentially lending money in disguise. If he paid it back, fine. If he couldn't, it would be a bad debt. Yes, Yes, but I believe that as long as you take action, Mr. Zane, there will be no problem. Huh. Hearing that Frank was willing to help, Tucker was so happy he lost his bearings. Lana spoke up from the side. Mr. Tucker, why don't you sit down first? This matter can't be rushed in a day or two. Let's just enjoy the drinks for now. All right, you got it. Tucker turned and walked back to his seat. Ethan, watching from the side, shook his head secretly. This guy Tucker was celebrating way too early. Ethan's eyes darted around, and he raised his glass to Neil. Neil, my brother, come on. I really have to thank you today for introducing me to VIPs like Mr. Zane and Mr. Boone. He said this for Neil to hear, but he also included Frank and the others, flattering them all. Naturally, the others had to respond. Not at all, not at all. Young Ethan, you're joking. How can we be called VIPs? Huh. Charlie Boone squinted his eyes, grinning. Well, there will be many places where I'll need to rely on you gentlemen in the future. Let's drink first. Ethan raised his glass, and the others followed suit. In that instant, the dynamic shifted, and Ethan took control of the table. After downing a glass, Ethan didn't rush to talk business. He chatted first, pulling the conversation east and west. With Ethan's business vision and foresight regarding the future, the topic ranged from the Chicago economy to the global market. Coupled with his witty remarks, the atmosphere at the table was instantly electrified. Frank and Lana occasionally glanced at Ethan, whispering a few words to each other. Frank grew more appreciative of him, whispering to Lana, "Look at this young man. He speaks eloquently and has a unique understanding of the economic situation. He really is a talent." Lana pulled out a cigarette, placed it between her lips, and smiled. "Mr. Zane, I don't think he's that simple. His words and actions are watertight, just like an old fox. To have such a level at this age, his future is limitless." Frank nodded, deeply agreeing. Businessmen, we're just a group of men busy generating ideas. How are these ideas born? It certainly requires mutual exchange. Being able to chat with you gentlemen today has benefited me greatly. Come, I toast you all. This bootlicking made them forget themselves. They were already addressing each other as brothers. Come, brother Ethan down the hatch. Joe Thompson, face red from drink, felt very comfortable listening to Ethan and raised his glass repeatedly. The group clinked glasses again and drained them in one go. Wayne Tank, Turner also drank, but he didn't say much. Instead, he was carefully listening to Ethan, studying his speech, his movements, his demeanor. He thought to himself that it would be great if he could navigate a dinner table like Ethan in the future. 2 hours passed in the blink of an eye. The table was a mess of plates and cups, but a bottle of premium liquor still stood before each person. Ethan glanced at Neil and Frank. These two were mostly there, definitely tipsy. It seemed the timing was right. Ethan turned to Neil and sighed. "Neil, old brother, I plan to open that new store soon, but I don't have the capital to stock the shelves. I wanted to borrow a batch of goods to fill the floor, but I'm out of options. It's really a tough spot." He was a loyal guy. Hearing Ethan had difficulties, specifically about lacking money for stock, he immediately patted his chest. "Brother, don't worry. My shop has stock. I can lend it to you first. Just say the word. By the way, my brother Frank is here too. Frank is a major distributor." Neil turned to Frank. "Frank, brother Ethan is my little brother too. He's trustworthy. I guarantee it with my character. He's short on cash for stock right now. See if you can work out a consignment deal. Sell first, pay later, and ship the goods to my brother." Frank smiled. Before coming to drink, he knew Neil organized this gathering to ask him to help Ethan with stock. He hadn't agreed immediately because there was risk involved. He had to see what kind of person Ethan was before deciding whether to help. But after this session of drinking, he had formed a preliminary understanding of Ethan. This young man was not simple. His words and actions were watertight, his social conduct was comprehensive, his business vision was unique and long-term, and he wasn't boastful, but humble and cautious. Such a young man would definitely succeed in the future. The younger generation is to be feared. So, for such a promising young man just starting a business, he was willing to help. Who knew? There might be more opportunities for cooperation in the future. "Hey, no problem. Brother Ethan, whatever computer parts you want, just get a list to me later. I'll personally have someone ship them over. We'll cooperate on a consignment basis. If you can't sell them, it doesn't matter. As long as the packaging isn't opened, you can return them to me." Frank smiled faintly. Lana covered her mouth and laughed beside him. "It seems Mr. Zane really appreciates you, young Ethan. Helping young people start businesses. It's the right thing to do." Frank put on a benevolent appearance. Ethan didn't care if he genuinely wanted to help or not. Since he had agreed in front of Neil, the matter was 90% secured. He hurriedly stood up and raised his glass to Neil and Frank. Then many thanks to you, Brother Neil and Mr. Zane. You're welcome. Frank squinted with a smile and clinked glasses. Charlie Boone also quickly raised his glass and shouted, "If Brother Ethan needs any stock for the opening, you can tell us too. If we can help, we definitely will." Right. We're all on the same team. Nothing more needs to be said. Joe Thompson was almost drunk, his eyes hazy and his speech slurring. Wally Tucker, watching the scene from the side, was completely dumbfounded. Damn it, when I asked you guys for help, nobody said a word, just making excuses. Now, this kid Ethan asked for help, and every single one of you agrees so quickly. Fuck, what benefits can this kid give you? Tucker sulked internally, not even joining the toast, drinking his frustration alone. Neil saw this and snorted. Petty-minded thing, can only say you deserve it. The group clinked glasses, and the atmosphere remained lively. Except Ethan had become the protagonist of the table, while Tucker had become marginalized, ignored by everyone. They drank for another hour until 9 in the evening before calling it quits. The group put down their glasses and chatted. This meal had lasted a full 3 hours. Tucker saw the drinking was about done and stood up, walking toward Frank. "Mr. Zane, I'll be relying on you from now on. I await your good news. I toast this glass to you." Tucker finished and tilted his head back to down the drink. Frank chuckled. "Mr. Tucker, you are too polite." Tucker smiled. "This meal, it's on me. Waiter." The waitress waiting at the door walked in. "What can I do for you, sir? How much is this table today?" The waitress took out a small pad and replied, "The total is $2,700. "All right, I'm paying. Give me the bill, put it on my tab." Tucker waved his hand expansively. But around the table, the expressions on Neil, Frank, Lana, and Charlie's faces all turned strange. A trace of anger appeared on Neil's face. Frank shook his head, his eyes holding a hint of disdain. Charlie Boone watched coldly, feeling like he was watching a monkey perform. Lana whispered, "Mr. Zane, this man is hopeless." Neil had invited everyone to this dinner, yet Tucker was fighting to pay the bill, and doing so in front of everyone. Wasn't this treating Neil like he didn't matter? And asking the price of the meal in front of everyone? Did he think everyone ate too much? Or that it was too expensive? Tucker's attempt to curry favor by fighting for the bill was a massive mistake. At this moment, Ethan laughed lightly and said, Hey, Mr. Tucker, forget it. An hour ago, I had Tank take care of the bill. Count this meal as me owing Brother Neil a favor. For such a small matter, let's not trouble Brother Neil." Neil and the others at the table looked surprised. They hadn't expected Ethan to have paid the bills so early, and his words were spoken with such class. Neil felt comfortable hearing this, and his expression softened a lot. He laughed. You, brother, you really are a sharp one." The appreciation in Frank's eyes for Ethan deepened. This young man really understands how to conduct himself and handle affairs. Tucker's face was full of shock. "You already paid the bill?" After speaking, a look of embarrassment washed over his face. Cough. Well, that really made young Ethan spend a fortune. "Then, let me treat everyone. Let's go to that spa over on 5th Street. We can get a nice soak and have the girls give us a good massage to relax a bit. How about it? Men can only really open up when they're relaxed and getting taken care of. Hee." Tucker proposed with a lewd wink. Frank's face went cold, and he waved his hand. "I won't go. You guys go if you want. I have things to do later." Going to that kind of spa. Everyone knew what kind of special services they offered. He had Lana right next to him. What kind of confused nonsense was Tucker spouting? Even the old fox Frank had lost patience with him, showing a look of annoyance. "Mr. Tucker, I won't go to that place either. Not my hobby. You asked Charlie and Joe." Neil refused bluntly. Mr. Tucker, I really want to go, but it's too late now. I have to go home. Let's arrange it another day." Charlie Boone made an excuse and stood up to leave. Joe Thompson had no interest in sleazy massages either and followed suit to leave, though he was already swaying as he walked. Rejection after rejection left Tucker standing there awkwardly, looking like a fool. He hadn't expected none of these people to enjoy that kind of entertainment. At this moment, Ethan stood up and said to Tank, you escort Brother Charlie and Brother Joe downstairs to their cars. Tell the drivers to be steady on the road." "You got it, Ethan." Tank stood up, nodded, and went to support Joe Thompson down the stairs. Then, Ethan turned to Neil and Frank. "Before I came, I had Tank reserve a private room at a nearby high-end lounge. Mr. Zane, Brother Neil, why don't we go have some tea or coffee and rest a bit?" "That's a very good suggestion. Tea helps sober you up." Neil loved tea and coffee, so hearing about the lounge piqued his interest. Frank smiled slightly. "All right, let's go have some tea then." He glanced at Tucker, who was still standing awkwardly in place, with disdain in his eyes. Wally Tucker, you really can't even compare to a young man. Have you lived all these years just to become a dog? The group gathered their things to leave. Ethan asked casually, Mr. Tucker, coming along. Tucker suppressed his anger and said coldly, You guys go drink. I won't go. Oh, Ethan grinned, then turned and left. Tucker stared coldly at Ethan's retreating back, anger rising in his heart. What makes this kid so special? Damn it, he really stole the spotlight today. The group left the Lotus Lounge and crossed the street to a beautifully managed high-end private club. Guided by a waitress in a cheongsam, they arrived at an antique-style private room. It was an East meets West aesthetic, very popular in high-end circles. The bookshelves and tables were made of mahogany, and the shelves were lined with antiques and jade artifacts of unknown authenticity, creating a rich atmosphere. In the center of the room was a tea table where a woman in a cheongsam was already brewing tea. Every private room had a specialized team master responsible for brewing. The guests just needed to taste and enjoy. However, Ethan didn't plan to have outsiders present. It wasn't convenient for talking business. Miss, you can go. We'll brew it ourselves, Ethan said with a smile. The team master nodded, stood up, and left. Ethan sat in the master's seat and said to Neil, Brother Neil, usually you handle the brewing. Tonight you've had quite a bit. So how about letting your little brother do the honors? The alcohol was getting to Neil. He propped his forehead up with his hands, barely maintaining clarity. Hearing this, he nodded. In his state, let alone brewing tea, he might just pass out on the floor if he tried to drink much longer. Young Ethan knows the art of tea? Frank asked, somewhat surprised. Just a little. Learn a bit from Brother Neil, Ethan said humbly. Ethan set the purple clay pot upright, spun it with one hand, held the lid with his index finger, and poured hot water over the pot, drenching it thoroughly to warm it. He set it down, steam rising from the entire body of the clay pot. This move immediately stunned the others. Neil paused. I taught him. Since when did he learn this from me? I don't even know how to do that. Frank's eyes widened, seeing that Ethan's brewing technique was incredibly skilled. This is called just a little. He had drunk in high-end tea houses many times, but he had never seen anyone better than the professional tea masters. Today was the first time. Ethan's hands were busy, but not chaotic, methodical, and clean. Warming the pot, washing the leaves, high pour, skimming the foam, shaking the tea, pouring the soup. Every step was done in one breath. Ethan poured the first cup and handed it to Frank. This first cup was given to the person with the highest status present, as a sign of respect. Brother Ethan's brewing skills are truly superb. Frank exclaimed, Mr. Zane flatters me. Please drink. Ethan extended a hand, then poured for the others, finally serving himself. Frank lifted the teacup, smelled it first, then took a careful sip. Raw pure. It's good tea, but it seems slightly different from what I've had before. Is the tea soup lighter? Frank tasted the difference in just one sip. Yes, raw pure light brew. The soup is lighter to help sober up. Too strong would have the opposite effect, Ethan smiled. As he spoke, he took a small jar of honey from the cabinet, spooned a little into the hot water pitcher, and stirred it. Then he poured it into the teapot to brew. This second cup of honey pure tea was distributed to Frank and the others. Lana took a sip, her eyes lighting up. She exclaimed, Good tea. It's delicious. The sweetness of the honey lingered on the tip of the tongue, highlighting the tea fragrance. With a little honey, the tea flavor was completely different. It became even better. Honey tea helps with hangovers and speeds up alcohol metabolism. Drinking a bit more is good for you. Ethan took a sip too. The warm tea entering his stomach indeed made him feel much more comfortable. They drank and chatted. Neil was the first to fade. Ethan had the waitress and Tank take him to a room to rest. Now, only Ethan, Frank, and Lana remained in the tea room. Ethan glanced up and saw Lana and Frank whispering. They were leaning close, and Lana was crossing her legs, tilting them toward Frank, her posture ambiguous. And the look in her eyes as she watched Frank was full of coquettishness. Emotional currents flowed between their eyes. Ethan suddenly felt more certain about their relationship. Lovers. This was truly too common among the merchant class. Many men achieved success in middle age, but facing the wives who had suffered through the hard times with them, most felt unsatisfied deep down. The women outside were young, beautiful, and had good figures. One had money, the other had looks. It was just a mutual exchange of needs. Facing such temptation, how many men could truly resist? Although Ethan saw through their relationship, he remained impassive, pretending not to know or see anything. Brother Ethan, I just instructed Secretary Cole. You get the list to me later, and I'll have her deliver the goods to your store within 2 days. Don't worry about it, Frank smiled. Ethan cupped his hands. That is truly appreciated, Brother Frank. Brother Ethan, you don't intend to open just one computer store, do you? I feel like you aren't someone with such short-sighted goals. Frank offered a compliment. Ethan refilled his tea and said, in business, everyone wants to expand. How could I be an exception? This store is my testing ground. If I'm lucky enough to succeed, I plan to open chain stores all over Chicago. So after opening, I want to create unified pricing, unified charging standards, and a unified high-quality service level. There's also personnel planning and reserves. Development relies on people. The root of business is people. The same task done by different people can have different results. Anyway, there are still many things to do. Right now, I just want to take every step carefully. Hearing this, Frank showed a look of appreciation. Brother Ethan really is a genius. I'll wait for the day Brother Ethan opens his chain stores. I believe that day isn't far off. Ethan raised his teacup and smiled. Then I'll borrow Brother Frank's auspicious words. The three drank tea and chatted until midnight. Seeing Lana getting sleepy, Frank stood up to leave. I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting with Brother Ethan today, but it's getting late. Better head back to rest. Some other day, we must drink and chat again. Huh? Ethan stood up to see them off. All right, I won't keep you. I'll walk you out. Ethan escorted Frank and Lana out of the club entrance. Watching them leave in a car, he finally returned to the tea room. Tank, seeing no one else in the room, came in from the hallway, pulled out a fresh pack of Marlboros, and handed one to Ethan. Ethan took the cigarette, asking in surprise, a new one? Tank gave a goofy laugh. Yeah, new. This is the 5th pack. During the dinner and drinking earlier, Tank was in charge of holding the cigarettes while Ethan distributed them. Who knew they'd burn through 4 packs so quickly? Ethan rubbed his throbbing head and smiled bitterly. Drank a lot tonight, smoked a lot too. But when Tank lit it for him with a lighter, he still puffed on it. Phew, Ethan exhaled a smoke ring, feeling his head clear up a bit. Ah, the deal is finally done. Didn't waste all our effort. After speaking, he took another drag and collapsed exhaustedly into the chair. Tank lit a cigarette too, sat next to him, and smiled. It's because you did good, Ethan. If it were me, I definitely would have screwed it up. Ethan immediately sat up straight, cigarette dangling from his mouth, looked at Tank, and encouraged him. Tank, have some confidence. You performed well today, too. I believe you'll be able to stand on your own soon. Yes, Ethan, I'll work harder. Tank nodded heavily. Ethan took a deep drag, exhaled another ring, his eyes unfocused. He was thinking about every next step. Suddenly, he spoke up. Tank, tomorrow when I take the inventory list to Frank, you deliver a gift to Secretary Cole for me. Huh? Ethan, not to Frank? Tank asked in confusion. Ethan smiled and shook his head. No need. Giving it to Secretary Cole is enough. Frank will be happy too. Tank scratched his head, not quite understanding Ethan's meaning, but asked anyway. Ethan, so what are we giving Secretary Cole? Ethan gave a mysterious smile. A set of high-end cosmetics. High-end cosmetics? Ethan, why are we giving that kind of gift? Don't girls usually like jewelry and stuff? Tank asked, confused. Ethan chuckled softly. You said yourself, those are girls. But Secretary Cole isn't a girl. If anything, she's a sophisticated woman. They care more about their appearance because their ability to stand in society and enjoy material comforts beyond the average person relies entirely on that face and figure. Once their looks fade, their fate might be worse than a fiercely loyal wife. Actually, most mistresses don't end up well. Few manage to successfully take the main spot. Tank looked enlightened. Ethan, that makes sense. I get it. Let's do it tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll take the list over. When I go see Frank, you secretly slip the gift to Secretary Cole, Ethan said with a faint smile. Tank scratched his head and grinned. All right, Ethan, I'll handle it. Ethan took out his phone and checked the time. It was almost 1 a.m. It's nearly 1. Go back and get some rest. He extinguished his cigarette in the ashtray and left the tea room with Tank. Back home, the alcohol hit Ethan hard. Without washing up, he collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep. Ethan didn't know how long he slept, but he was suddenly awakened by noise outside his door. He opened his eyes groggily and saw the bright sunshine outside the window. It clearly wasn't early morning anymore. Ethan pulled his phone from his pocket to check the time. He hadn't expected to sleep until 11 a.m. Ouch, headache. His head throbbed suddenly, the hangover kicking in. He patted his forehead and rubbed his temples. Waking up the day after getting drunk was the worst. Who was making that noise outside? Was Dad back? Stinky Ford, are you awake? Grace Miller's crisp voice rang out from outside the door. Ethan rolled his eyes, then continued to lie in bed, closing his eyes to pretend he was still asleep. A moment later, footsteps approached. Creak. The door opened, and Grace walked in holding a broom. Still haven't woken up. I thought you were up. Honestly, all you know how to do all day is smoke and drink. Grace put her hands on her hips, puffed out her cheeks angrily, and glared at Ethan lying on the bed. And your mom too. Why make me come clean up? Does stinky Ethan not have hands or feet? Forget it. He's drunk all the time, can't do anything. Grace nagged and complained, but she started cleaning Ethan's room anyway. This stinky Ford made the whole room smell like smoke and booze. Honestly, maybe I should just throw him out on the street. Grace thought about it, but abandoned the dangerous idea. I'll wipe his face in a bit. Meanwhile, Ethan secretly opened one eye slit to look at Grace sweeping the floor. Today, Grace was wearing tight jeans and a white shirt, her long, beautiful black hair cascading down. From the back, he couldn't see her face, but he saw her perfect figure, tall, curvy, and full of youthful energy. Grace is helping clean? Since when is she so kind? Ethan wondered. Suddenly, Grace turned around, and Ethan quickly closed his eyes again. So much noise, and he still didn't wake up? Must be really drunk. Grace shoveled the trash into the dustpan and went out. When she came back a moment later, she had a towel in her hand. In his daze, Ethan recognized it as his own towel. Grace sat on the edge of the bed. A unique scent immediately wafted over. Ethan secretly rejoiced. Little Gracie sure smells nice. Then Grace started wiping his face with the towel. The ice-cold towel slapped onto his face, and Ethan shuddered. Grace, are you trying to freeze me to death? However, in that instant, he was thoroughly awake. That didn't wake you? Sleeping like the dead. Get up. Ethan the lazy pig. Grace shouted at Ethan. But Ethan kept his eyes closed, pretending to sleep, unresponsive. Grace rolled her eyes and huffed, thinking, not waking up? Ghost believes that. Still pretending with me? She had an idea. Oh well, I'm gonna go check the computer. Grace stood up and casually flung the towel onto Ethan's face, covering his nose and mouth perfectly. Ethan immediately felt his nose and mouth smothered by the towel, unable to breathe. Holy crap, this girl is trying to murder her future husband? He couldn't hold it, secretly using his hand to pull the towel down. But the next moment, his gaze met Grace's eyes perfectly. Grace stood by the bed, arms crossed, staring at him coldly. Nice one, young Master Ford. You really were pretending to sleep. Ethan laughed awkwardly. Morning, Grace. Grace glared at him, hands on her hips. Morning? Young Master Ford, the sun is high in the sky. What? Who's high? Grace. What is in that brain of yours? Hurry up and get up. Grace, you gotta let me recover, right? I don't have that much energy. No, recover my ass. Can't you be a bit more impressive? I want to be impressive too, but the body doesn't allow it. Master Ford, who told you to drink so much? Now look at you. Man in the arena, involuntary actions, understand? Stop yapping, hurry up. Grace, can I go slower? Grace massaged her fist, her knuckles making a creepy cracking sound. If you don't want to get up, I can help you. No, I'm getting up, okay? I'm warning you. A gentleman uses his mouth, uses words, not hands. Ethan scrambled up from the bed. Grace lifted her chin arrogantly. Use words? Are you even worthy of me using words? Ethan grinned. Of course I am. Using words is always better than using hands. If I use my words, you aren't far from a breakdown. Ethan looked at her tender red lips and nodded seriously. True, I would definitely surrender unconditionally. Grace rolled her eyes at him. Get up, go shower immediately. You smell like smoke and booze, it's killing me. Okay, wait a sec. Ethan got up, grabbed clothes from the closet, and dashed into the bathroom. In the bathroom, Ethan was in a good mood, whistling while he showered. Just as he finished washing his hair and wanted to dry off, he turned and realized the towel was gone. Then he remembered, didn't Grace take the towel into the room? Ethan opened the bathroom door, just a crack, sticking his head out to shout. Grace, help me get the towel. Stinky Ethan, you shower without a towel? I forgot. Help me get it. So troublesome. Grace spoke with disdain, but she still brought his towel out. Grace walked to the bathroom door and saw Ethan had only opened a tiny crack, not even wide enough to fit the towel through. Hey, Stinky Ford, what are you doing? Opening such a small crack. How am I supposed to hand it to you? Grace glared at him. Ethan gave a dry laugh. Isn't this for fear of accidentally flashing you and scaring you? He stuck his hand out the crack, gesturing to take the towel. Grace laughed contemptuously. Scare me? There aren't many things in this world that can scare me. Besides, it's not like I haven't seen it when we were kids. I know exactly what you've got. Really? Then tell me exactly what I've got. Ethan chuckled, winking playfully. Or do you want to come in and count properly? Grace's cheeks flushed crimson, and she rolled her eyes at him. This lady isn't that bored. With that, Grace turned and walked away. Ethan snickered, closed the door, and continued to shower. After a comfortable shower and changing into fresh clothes, Ethan felt a bit more spirited, but his stomach started growling. He hadn't eaten breakfast or lunch, and he was starving. Grace, let's go. I'm treating you to the diner. Ethan shouted toward the living room while drying his hair. Grace stood up and asked suspiciously, Stinky Ethan, why are you so kind today? Did the sun rise in the west, especially treating me to lunch? Ethan twitched the corner of his mouth. Please, am I that stingy? You helped me clean up this morning. I gotta show some appreciation, right? So you eating or not? If not, I'm going by myself. Grace smiled brightly. Eating? Why refuse a free lunch? I'm hungry too. Let's go, Master Ford. The two left the house together and arrived at a small diner in front of the Mill residential compound. It was peak lunch hour, and there were quite a few people eating. The small diner was packed, but fortunately, they had set up plenty of tables and chairs outside. Otherwise, there wouldn't even be a place to sit. Ethan squeezed through the crowd to the counter. Boss, 2 orders of the breakfast skillet. $6. The owner was quick, taking the money and giving a ticket, then welcoming the next customer. Ethan placed the ticket at the pickup window and waited for his number. Grace found an empty seat near the door to wait for him. So many people today. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. It was hot at noon, crowded, and he was sweating. Grace saw him sweating and covered her mouth, laughing. Look at you, Master Ford. Are you made of water? Leaking so much. Ethan glanced at her and laughed. Aren't you the same? You have a nerve to talk about me. Women are the ones made of water. Look at you. Your jeans are sticking to you. Grace glared at him. I didn't know it would be this hot today. If I knew, I would have changed into shorts. While they joked, the diner called their number. Number 36. Here, Ethan responded. Ethan went alone to the window to bring the food back. After 2 trips, they could finally eat. Ethan felt his stomach would protest if he didn't fill it soon. Ethan took a big bite of the eggs and hash browns, feeling very satisfied. Here for you. Grace put the sausage links she found into his bowl. Ethan smiled, picked the peppers out of his bowl, and gave them to Grace. This was a habit developed over years. After exchanging food, they began to devour their meal. Just then, 4 bicycles stopped by the road in front of the shop. 4 middle-aged women came to eat. After buying their food, they sat at a table to Ethan's back left. Hey, have you heard? Our Tri-State Steel might be acquired and merged by Pittsburgh Steel. My husband told me too, but I don't know if it's true or false. He said, once acquired, we'll all be laid off. No way then. Well, we do. My whole family depends on old Zhao's salary. Among the 4, one wore a red floral shirt and bell-bottoms. She had a fat head and big ears, but very thin lips, giving her a mean appearance. I also heard that the one in charge of negotiating the acquisition is that Vice President Miller, George Miller. I heard from others that Vice President Miller seems to have taken bribes from Pittsburgh Steel to sell our Tri-State Steel cheap. Ethan and Grace stopped their forks simultaneously upon hearing this. A faint anger appeared in Grace's brow. She hated hearing people badmouth her parents behind their backs. At this moment, another woman gasped. No way. Vice President Miller? Then he's too shameless, too disgusting. The thin-lipped woman snorted coldly. I felt for a long time that George Miller has character issues. If he really took benefits from Pittsburgh, it wouldn't be strange at all. The problem is, if he sells our Tri-State Steel cheap like this, it hurts the interests of all our workers. That old crook Miller. What kind of vice president is he? A woman in a blue dress next to her asked anxiously. Mrs. Pringle, then what do? Do we just watch that old guy sell us all out? Hearing the name Mrs. Pringle, Ethan suddenly realized. This old hag was famous in the neighborhood for her big mouth. She loved to fabricate all kinds of rumors, and she was arrogant and shrewish. Many people in the neighborhood were afraid to provoke her and would avoid her if they saw her. If it weren't for her husband being the logistics director at the mill, this old woman would have been beaten up who knows how many times. Hateful. Grace heard them speaking more and more outrageously. She wanted to slam the table and stand up, but was held down by Ethan first. Wait. Ethan glanced back at the 4 women, then spoke calmly to Grace. Let's hear what Mrs. Pringle's goal is smearing and spreading rumors here. That thin-lipped woman called Mrs. Pringle had a self-righteous look. In 2 months, the mill is going to promote a new vice president. When you go back, tell your men to support our old CM more. If old CM presides over the negotiations with Pittsburgh, Surely he's better than that traitor George Miller, right? The other women nodded repeatedly in agreement. Grace couldn't hold it back anymore when Mrs. Pringle called her father a traitor. She slammed the table and stood up. Bang! Shut up. What right do you have to spread rumors about my dad behind his back? How did my dad offend you? Why are you cursing him like this? You say my dad sold out the mill. Do you have evidence? Spouting nonsense without evidence. You heard? Heard from who? I heard your mom kicked the bucket. Grace showed no mercy when cursing, and her momentum was fierce. For a moment, she scolded the four women until their faces turned purple. Grace glared at the four of them, pointing at their noses and continuing, I see you guys are just bored. Your tongues are longer than a snake's. Why don't you go to hell instead of wandering around the living world? Really fed up with your mouths. Even a gas mask probably couldn't block your stench. Dressed up like humans, wearing floral shirts looking all flashy. Great disguise until you open your mouths and we realize you're dogs. The four women were scolded by Grace until they were trembling with anger. They pointed at Grace, wanting to curse back, but the words got stuck in their throats and couldn't come out. The surrounding diners were all dumbfounded, looking at Grace, completely stunned. This girl curses in sets. Her mouth is so sharp. Couldn't tell a girl this pretty had this kind of skill. Ethan secretly gave Grace a thumbs up. Grace, you're a badass. You wretched girl. Mrs. Pringle was trembling with rage. Suddenly, she gasped for air, seemingly unable to catch her breath, and nearly collapsed. The other women quickly held her up, helping her breathe. Grace huffed arrogantly. Master Ford, let's go. Seeing them makes me lose my appetite. With that, Grace turned to leave, and Ethan quickly followed. That Mrs. Pringle was nearly angered to death, and the surrounding diners gathered to watch. Ethan looked back at the scene, then grabbed Grace's hand and whispered, Grace, follow me. Go where? Grace was confused. Ethan grinned mischievously and pulled a small pocket knife from his pocket. To let the air out of their tires. Spreading rumors about my future father-in-law. If I don't show you some color, you won't know how many eyes the Lord has. Grace's eyes instantly flashed with excitement. Hee okay. Ethan held her hand, pretended to walk past the four women's car parked nearby. With his right hand hiding the knife, he jammed it into the valve stems of their tires, or maybe just gave the sidewall a little poke. Puffed. After sabotaging the tires, Ethan immediately pulled Grace's hand and bolted. He thought to himself, slash and dash, what a rush, haha. The two held hands and ran all the way back to the downstairs of their apartment building. Phew, panting heavily downstairs. They looked at each other and couldn't help but burst out laughing. Didn't expect your wicked brain to finally be used for good, Master Ford. Grace laughed, taking deep breaths to calm down. Ethan rolled his eyes at her. Grace, does that count as a compliment? Just letting the air out is me being generous. If it were anyone else, I would have started a fight long ago. If the rumor that George Miller took bribes from Pittsburgh spread, it could be a major blow to him. Gossip is fearful. He might even lose his vice president position. Just flattening their tires was light. If they really succeeded in their slander, Ethan wouldn't let them off so easily. I have to tell my dad to be careful later. Can't let that Mrs. Pringle succeed. Her husband wants to fight for the vice president position. I think she did it on purpose. Grace puffed her cheeks, angry. It's all for fame and profit. If he can become vice president, what does offending your dad matter? All right, just tell your dad to pay attention. Ethan smiled comfortingly. Oh, then I'm going home first. You're not going back, Master Ford? Grace asked in confusion. Ethan smiled. I have things to do with Tank. You go back first. I'll come back later. Don't wait for me for dinner. Grace glared at him. Don't go drinking so much again. Okay, I know. You really are like a nagging wife. Ethan laughed. Who's your wife? I can't be bothered with you. Humph. Grace finished and turned to go upstairs. Ethan shrugged, then called Tank. In the afternoon, Ethan and Tank brought gifts to the tech tower and found the office of Southbridge Traders on the top floor. After telling the receptionist they had an appointment with Frank Zane, the receptionist led Ethan to the chairman's office. Before entering, Ethan gave Tank a look, signaling him to go find Secretary Cole. Tank nodded, indicating he understood. The receptionist knocked and announced them, and Frank's voice came from inside. Come in. Ethan pushed the door open, smiling. Hello, Mr. Zane. Frank stood up politely to welcome Ethan. After exchanging pleasantries, they sat down on the sofa in the reception area. Mr. Zane, I brought the inventory list personally. I'll be relying on you for the rest. Ethan took the list from his pocket and handed it to Frank. Frank took the list, saw the parts on it, and smiled. Brother Ethan doesn't want that much stock. Hee hee. Enough to open for business. Later, if I open branches, I'll need more computer parts. Ethan smiled. Frank nodded. All right, we'll cooperate on a consignment basis. I'll have Secretary Cole draw up the contract right away. In the secretary's office next to the chairman's office, Tank knocked on the door. Come in. Tank opened the door, carrying a gift in one hand. Secretary Cole, good afternoon. Tank greeted with a goofy smile. Tank, why? Are you here? Looking for me? Lana was stunned, somewhat surprised to see Tank. She knew Tank worked with Ethan, so even if he came to the company, he should be looking for Frank. Secretary Cole, Ethan said that for West 4 Electronics to cooperate with Southbridge Traders, we definitely need Secretary Cole's support. So he asked me to represent him, and thank you. Tank said, placing the gift bag on her desk. A small gift, no respect intended. I mean, just a token of appreciation. Please accept it, Secretary Cole. Lana glanced at the logo on the box, Saks Fifth Avenue, and immediately covered her mouth in surprise, her eyes flashing with excitement. This was a set of high-end cosmetics. One set cost over $1,000. That was higher than 2 of her paychecks. Although she had expensive cosmetics Frank gave her at home, a woman never thinks she has too many cosmetics. She accepted the cosmetics with surprise, but suddenly put them down again, looking at Tank. Tank, isn't this gift a bit too expensive? Hey, not expensive. West 4 Electronics will have to cooperate with Southbridge Traders for a long time. We have to rely on your help, Secretary Cole. This little gift is nothing. Tank waved his hand. Just like that. Really just like that. Lana breathed a secret sigh of relief. That young man, Ethan, really knew how to do business. Since it was his goodwill, there was no need to refuse. All right, then I'll accept it. Thank young Ethan for me when you go back. Lana smiled, putting the cosmetics under the cabinet. You got it, no problem. I'll definitely pass it on. Secretary Cole, if there's nothing else, I won't disturb you. Tank said politely, then backed out, closing the door behind him. Lana chuckled softly. Ethan, this young man, is really interesting. Ring, ring, ring. Suddenly the phone on the desk rang, and she answered immediately. Lana, prepare a consignment contract. We are officially cooperating with West 4 Electronics today. Lana smiled. Okay, I'll bring it over in a bit. 10 minutes later, Lana took the contract and walked into Frank's office. She saw Frank and Ethan drinking tea and laughing at the tea table. The two looked very harmonious and familiar. Mr. Zane, here is the contract. Lana walked over and handed out the contract, one copy for each. Ethan carefully browsed it twice. It was a normal contract, no special bias. He could tell Lana had tweaked this one. It was friendly to him. Not bad, no problems. I'm very reassured by Secretary Cole's work. Ethan praised. Frank smiled slightly and nodded. Brother Ethan, since everything is fine, let's sign. Okay. Ethan nodded. Lana handed pens to both of them. Frank and Ethan began to sign formally. After signing, Lana packed them into document bags. Frank stood up and extended his hand. Pre-congratulations on brother Ethan's smooth start. As long as you grow bigger and stronger, our cooperation can reach a higher level. Borrowing brother Frank's good words. Ethan shook his hand. Congratulations on the opening, young Ethan. Lana extended her hand and smiled. Ethan shook her hand too, squinting with a smile. Secretary Cole is not only beautiful as a fairy, but also so capable. She really is Mr. Zane's capable helper. He turned to smile at Frank again. Brother Frank, having such a good helper really makes me envious. Young Ethan flatters me. Lana smiled sweetly. Ethan and Frank sat and chatted over tea for another half hour, with Lana keeping them company. Half an hour later, Ethan stood up to leave. Frank walked him to the company entrance. Watching Ethan's retreating back, he fell into deep thought. Do you think this Ethan can succeed? Frank turned to ask Lana. If someone shrewder than an old fox like him can't make a fortune, who in this world can? Lana smiled faintly. Frank suddenly grabbed her wrist forcefully, gripping it until it hurt. So, is that why you adjusted the contract? You think that highly of him? Is it because he's young and handsome? You've taken a fancy to him. Frank's entire face suddenly darkened, staring at her with a grim gaze. You're hurting me. I just thought it's best to have a long-term cooperation with someone like that. If we use the old contract, it might leave a bad impression on him. So, I adjusted it. Lana frowned, enduring the pain in her wrist to explain. Hearing this, Frank released her hand. His face returned to normal, appearing as kind as usual. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Did I hurt you just now? I'll put some medicine on it for you later. He turned his face faster than flipping a page of a book. After getting the contract, Ethan returned to the store with Tank and told Henry Payne the news. Ethan, does that mean we can prepare to open? Henry asked excitedly. Yeah, in 2 days when the parts arrive, we can officially open. Ethan nodded, full of high spirits. Tank rubbed his fists, ready to work hard. Ethan, what do we do next? Should we go pass out flyers or run some ads? Ethan gave a mysterious smile. No need. Offline advertising is too troublesome and costs more for less value. Then, how do we promote? Tank asked in confusion. Go online, do marketing activities. The effect is better. Do you remember I told you there's something called a search engine portal? Ethan smiled. I remember, Ethan. That portal seems to have just launched in January this year. It seems like besides searching, it doesn't have many functions. Tank scratched his head, puzzled. That's because you don't know how to use it. If we also make a portal site, do good SEO optimization, and then do community marketing on other portals, the effect is the best and the cost-performance ratio is the highest. Ethan smiled. SEO? Ethan, what's that? Tank asked curiously. It stands for Search Engine Optimization. This is a new technology. In the entire domestic internet, besides Google and Yahoo, few people understand it. Search engines haven't been around that long and haven't received enough attention yet. We could be the first to eat the crab. Ethan leaned back on the sofa, eager to try. Tank scratched his head, still not understanding, but his intuition told him this was a powerful marketing method, and Ethan understood this technology. So naturally, he trusted Ethan unconditionally and said immediately, Hey, I don't know tech stuff, so I probably can't help. Ethan sat up straight and snapped his fingers. Tank, there is another very important thing for you to do. I don't have time recently, so I can only let you do it. It's very important. Tank asked seriously, Ethan, what important thing? Use this address to register a company first, a sole proprietorship, named West Ford Tech. Spend some money, find a business service company, let them help apply. You mainly need to watch the whole process and strive to get it done before college starts, Ethan said solemnly. Currently, opening the store only required an individual business license, not a corporate license. Individual licenses were faster to get, enough to open for business. But later, if larger business was involved or business expanded, the operating entity must be changed. Opening a company was necessary. The whole process was just more complicated, so it could be carried out in parallel during this time. Okay, I understand. I will definitely take care of it. Tank nodded heavily. Ethan patted his shoulder and smiled. Good, go for it. Day after tomorrow, we open. 2 days later, after 2 days of preparation, Southbridge Trader's truck delivered a truckload of parts. All were brand new, first-hand computer parts from various brands. Getting brand new parts wasn't hard. The hard part was getting the most suitable low price. Southbridge Traders had first-hand sources from major brands. His prices were the lowest on the net. This meant Ethan could get higher profit margins on parts. For example, an Asus motherboard. He could get a wholesale price of $85 a board from Southbridge, but on the market, this board could sell for $150, and brand new authentic stock was rare. Even with money, you might not find it. Ethan planned to price it at $140. Selling one board would earn $55. There was a lot of profit in this. After unloading at noon, Ethan, Tank, Henry, and Hannah Payne stocked the shelves together and placed grand opening flower baskets at the door. Just then, Neil Power's voice rang out from outside the store. Haha, congratulations. Congratulations on brother Ethan's new store opening. Neil strode into the store, laughing heartily. Welcome, welcome. Brother Neil coming makes this humble place shine. Ethan welcomed him with a smile. On opening day, his mood was naturally good. Neil pointed back at the door. Several people were arranging flower baskets on both sides of the entrance, and others were moving complete desktop towers into the store. Brother Ethan, I brought the pre-built machines you wanted. Sell as you please. If you can't sell them, send them back to me. Neil smiled. Ethan was delighted. The profit on these pre-builts wasn't low either. They were all configured in Neil's own shop. A machine selling for around $1,000 had a profit margin of at least 30%, all coming from parts profit and whole machine pricing. If it was a high-end machine over $1,000, the profit was at least 50%. Good, good. Thanks for the support, Brother Neil. Ethan cupped his hands repeatedly. Suddenly, the sound of high heels came from the door. Congratulations on the opening, Boss Ford. Wishing your business booming success. Lana Cole walked in wearing a black and white professional skirt suit, her figure slender and graceful, grabbing attention. Secretary Cole is here. Thanks for the support. Ethan went up to greet her with a smile. I'm here representing Mr. Zane today. Mr. Zane said he had to support, but he has to go on a business trip today, so he asked me to come as a representative. That is the opening flower basket, Mr. Zane sent to young Ethan. Lana gestured with her hand. At the door, Two people were setting up the basket. Mr. Zane really has heart. Thank you, thank you. Please sit, have some tea. Ethan invited. Hannah Payne was responsible for serving tea and pouring water, distributing tea to everyone. Lana sat in the rest area, looking around the shop with surprise, feeling it was very novel. How about it? Secretary Cole thinks this shop is beautiful too, right? Neil grinned. Indeed, beautiful. A design I've never seen before. It gives a simple, fashionable, high-tech feeling. The atmosphere created by this furniture and lighting is just too good. This is the most beautiful shop I've ever seen. Lana gave a very high evaluation, praising ceaselessly. She was seeing such advanced design for the first time. It had more feeling than shops abroad. A while later, Charlie Boone and Joe Thompson also sent people to deliver flower baskets to congratulate Ethan on the opening. Ethan, come cut the ribbon for the opening. Tank shouted from the door. Okay, coming. Ethan responded, then took everyone in the shop out to the entrance. Quite a few neighbors from the surrounding streets had gathered at the shop entrance, stopping to watch curiously. The scene was bustling. Ethan felt a surge of emotion. This day had finally come. His career was about to set sail. Originally, only he needed to cut the ribbon, but Ethan invited Neil and Lana to cut it together to show respect. The three stood at the shop entrance, holding red scissors. Ethan looked left and right and smiled. You two, count down with me. Let's cut together. All right. Neil nodded with a smile, looking in a good mood too. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations to West Ford Electronics, officially open. Snip. As the red ribbon was cut, confetti cannons fired on both sides, fluttering down joyously. Congratulations, Brother Ethan. Starting today, should I call you CEO Ford? Neil teased. Brother Neil, stop joking. What kind of CEO am I? Just trying to make a living. Ethan said humbly. Lana covered her mouth and laughed. CEO Ford, don't be modest. Sooner or later, you'll leap over the Dragon Gate. She always felt that for Ethan to be so shrewd and daring at such a young age, his future achievements would be limitless. Secretary Cole, don't flatter me to death. I know my own weight. Come, let's go inside and sit. Ethan gestured. Young Ethan, I won't. Today is a work day, and there are still many things in the company that need processing. I have to go back, Lana said apologetically. Hee, Brother Ethan, I'm going back to busy myself with renovations too. You're opening today. Surely you'll have a prosperous start and be very busy, so I won't disturb you much. Secretary Cole, let's go back to the tech tower together. Neil smiled. Lana nodded, and the three said goodbye to each other. Ethan watched them leave, then returned to the shop to rest. He looked at Tank, who was greeting customers in store. Handsome, look at this graphics card, GF256 SDR, the world's first GPU graphics card, memory frequency 166 MHz, the undisputed new generation card king. This card is NVIDIA's latest masterpiece. Market price is $400. Our new store opening discount puts it at only $320. There shouldn't be a lower price in all of Chicago. Miss the opening discount, and in 2 days the boss might restore the original price of $400. Under Tank's persuasion and closing tactics, that young man hesitated for only a moment before deciding to buy it. Henry Payne wasn't good with words and couldn't do sales work, so Ethan arranged for him to be at the cashier. He could skillfully use the billing method taught before. And Hannah was young, so she could only do simple work like greeting guests and serving tea, but that girl worked seriously without any slack. The 4 people in the shop wore red maple leaf uniforms. Their spirits were full. After Ethan's guidance on sorting out processes and dividing positions, they could all perform their duties now. Tank watched the young man pay and take the goods, politely sending him to the door. Thank you for your patronage. Welcome to come again. There were still 2 customers in the store experiencing the pre-built computers, so Tank ran excitedly to Ethan. Ethan, did you see? We opened with a bang. $320, GF256 graphics card. Tank was very excited. It proved his hard work had rewards. To understand computers and various parts, he practiced and recited the script Ethan wrote repeatedly. He recited it even when going to the bathroom until he could finally remember most parts advantages and core specs. He also planned to use another 3 days to memorize the functions of all parts and machines in the store. You have to know what you're selling. At the very least, when a customer asks, you have to be able to answer. And Tank felt he couldn't be limited to just answering. He had to answer well. It was also a chance to exercise his eloquence. He felt he had to devote himself wholeheartedly to this job to do it better. Good job. I can tell you practiced the script I wrote well. Keep it up. Use it flexibly. Ethan encouraged. Okay, Ethan, then I'll continue to work. There are still 2 customers looking at computers. Tank laughed and turned to continue receiving guests. Ethan felt that Tank handling it alone was indeed a bit much. It seemed he needed to hire 2 more hands. Hire 2 first. Depending on the marketing activity, if there were many customers, this store would need at least 10 sales clerks. At Boss Ford, business is good. Suddenly, a sarcastic voice sounded in the store. Ethan looked up and frowned when he saw the visitor. It was Sal Higgins, Fat Sal. This guy actually knew the store was here and came on opening day. Truly an uninvited guest. Tank also saw Sal Higgins. Anger appeared on his face, and he stepped forward to block him. Fat Sal, what are you doing in our store? Please leave. You aren't welcome here. Sal sneered. Tank, this is your first day open. Is this how you receive guests? You count as a guest. Tank glared. At this moment, the 2 young men who were experiencing the computers seemed to sense the atmosphere was wrong and turned to leave. Hey, you 2. Tank looked anxious, wanting to keep them, but they had already pushed out the door. Now it was great. Not a single customer in the store. It became much quieter. All your fault, Fat Sal. Tank glared at him. Sal smiled smugly. Hey, I kinda came to celebrate your opening. How is it my fault? You. Tank saw he was deliberately looking for trouble and wished he could punch him flying. Tank, calm down. Ethan walked out from behind the counter, speaking calmly. Ethan, this old bastard. I know, you go tidy up first. Ethan walked to his side, interrupting his words. Tank's personality was still easily impulsive. Tank glared at Sal, turning to tidy up the desktop where the display computers were. TSK, Boss Ford. Some employees still need to strengthen their training. Honestly, what's service attitude? Sal said sarcastically. Hee, that's our own store's business. It's not your turn to worry about it. Ethan said indifferently. Sal put his hands behind his back, looking around the store. TSK, this store is renovated nicely. I wondered why you wouldn't agree to cooperate with me to eat this computer repair cake together. Turns out you planned to do it yourself long ago. You really can repair computers, but being a boss isn't easy. You might go under at any time. I see your business scope written at the door. The main business is also computer repair. Then we count as competitors from now on. Boss Ford, do you think you can beat me? Sal smiled contemptuously, staring at Ethan. A cold light flashed in Ethan's eyes as he said calmly. Seems you're pretty confident, Boss Higgins. But I believe you'll crash sooner or later. With Sal's narrow-mindedness, he was destined not to achieve great things. If he wanted to crush Ethan in the computer repair field, it was just a fool's dream. If Sal dared to cause trouble in the dark, Ethan had various means to ruin his reputation. A look of ridicule appeared on Sal's face. Boss Ford, who crashes isn't certain yet. You have no customers, no resources. Where do you think those people came from back then? Wasn't it the customers I accumulated over these years? Besides having a shop, what do you have? With nothing, how will you make money? Without those customers, your skills are useless no matter how good they are. I hope your store lasts a bit longer. Don't go bankrupt too fast. If you can't go on, I can barely accept taking over this shop to stop your bleeding. Chapter 89-inch Boss Higgins doesn't need to worry about that. Rest assured, my store will run very well. Bankruptcy is impossible. Ethan smiled faintly. Really? Then let's wait and see. Sal sneered, turning to walk out. Tank watched Sal leave the door and curse in a low voice. This old bastard really has no shame. He ruined 2 sales. I think he's a weasel paying respects to a chicken. No good intentions. Ethan, right? Ethan rubbed his chin and suddenly said, I'm thinking about another thing. We never told him about opening the store. How did he find this place? Tank paused, then clapped his hands. Right. How did he know? A gleam flashed in Ethan's eyes as he smiled. Someone definitely told him. But there are very few people who know about our new store opening. Sal Higgins left the alley. At the entrance of the alley, a car was parked by the road waiting for him. He pulled open the passenger door and got in. Boss Higgins, how was it? Did you see their store? In the driver's seat, a middle-aged man laughed. Manager Xander, I saw the store. Renovation is nice, but it's just a bunch of kids. No customer source. They won't last long. Just wait to watch them close down. Sal smiled confidently. By the way, Manager Xander, it'll depend on you later. Sal turned to look at Nick Xander. No problem, small matter. Nick chuckled low. Sal laughed too, politely saying, Let's go, Manager Xander. I'm treating you to the full package. I found a new place recently. The girls inside are nice. You'll definitely be satisfied. Hearing this, a lecherous look appeared in Nick's eyes. Is that so? Boss Higgins is treating, then I won't be polite. The car started and drove away from the alley entrance. On the first day of opening, not many walk-in customers came. Only 2 deals were closed. Before leaving in the afternoon, Ethan held a small meeting for everyone. Tank, go to the job market tomorrow and post a recruitment notice. Hire 2 more sales clerks, monthly salary 500. We want girls, pretty ones, with solid character. Ethan instructed. This salary was a bit higher than the average because the hard requirements were higher. At least looks had to be high. The extra part counted as beauty economy. Historically, handsome and beautiful people have earned higher wages than average people. This is an objective fact because they possess a resource ordinary people don't have: appearance. A pretty face can give people a visually pleasant aesthetic enjoyment. Yes, Ethan, I understand. I'll schedule interviews after screening. Tank asked. Yeah, schedule interviews in the store then. I'll personally check, Ethan said solemnly. Okay. Tank nodded. Ethan turned to Henry. Henry, I leave the store to you to watch. In your spare time, memorize the documents I wrote too. If customers ask, you can answer. Henry nodded seriously. Ethan, I memorized them all. It's just, I'm a bit clumsy with words. He looked somewhat apologetic. Ethan smiled and patted his shoulder. It's okay. It'll get better slowly. Hannah raised her hand. Brother Ethan, I'll work hard to memorize too. Hannah is so good. Tomorrow I'll reward you with a lollipop. Ethan rubbed her little head affectionately, then said to everyone, after I go back, I'll start building the website and doing marketing activities. I build sites fast, can get it done in one night. Once the site is online, I'll do SEO optimization, then formally start the marketing campaign. I already have the activity plan, just waiting to implement. If everything goes smoothly, our store should take off. After speaking, Ethan revealed a mysterious smile. Hearing this, everyone felt invigorated. They all knew Ethan never boasted casually. He would only say such things if he had considerable certainty. Ethan said we can take off, so we definitely can take off. Tank laughed loudly. After the meeting adjourned, Ethan went home and dove into his room, turning on the computer to start working. In this era, he could only use HTTPS technology to build a site. It wasn't difficult for Ethan. The simple portal website used simple image assets and color schemes. The simpler, the more it highlighted the key points. Ethan focused on the content structure layout. Just entering the website, one could feel the advanced UI aesthetic, fresh interface, and excellent UI interaction, making his portal look more comfortable. After building the site, Ethan began to work on search engine optimization. Now Google was becoming known, but Yahoo and others were still players. The potential was about to explode. By then, as long as one searched for computer-related keywords, Ethan's West Ford Electronics portal would appear, along with different sub-business pages. Ethan used a few technical tricks to get the portal onto the front page of multiple computer keywords that very night. For example, computer, computer parts, computer repair, PC maintenance, computer virus, Chicago computer, desktop tower, etc. After finishing all this, Ethan finally let out a sigh of relief and looked at the time on the desktop. Didn't expect time to pass so fast. This feeling is so familiar. Ethan muttered to himself, then chuckled softly. No wonder tech work was such a grind. Next, Ethan opened the marketing plan file. The title was, Give Your Computer a Free Physical Exam. This free physical exam marketing campaign was a relatively reasonable activity Ethan had come up with after careful thought recently. This activity was mainly based on the heuristic antivirus engine Ethan developed, an antivirus software. By posting some promotional threads on community portals and paying off moderators to pin them, then using sockpuppet software to bump the threads, the effect would be best. This activity would definitely cause a huge impact. After users clicked to experience it, they would download this antivirus program. Upon use, it would pop up the West Ford Electronics portal site. To unlock other functions of the antivirus program or activate active computer defense to get more complete functions, they would need a West Ford Electronics activation code. This activation code could only be obtained by purchasing items from West Ford Electronics. So, this was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It promoted the antivirus software and marketed West Ford Electronics. Ethan named the antivirus software 361 PC Safety Manager. This heuristic antivirus engine led current security technology and would change the existing landscape. Ethan rewrote the core content of the file into a forum post, disguising it as an early adopter tech nerd sharing good stuff. People didn't easily believe commercial promotions, but they trusted some inexplicable posts very much. This was human nature, because when people saw straightforward ads, they would feel annoyed. Their first reaction was, this merchant wants to earn my money. But if they saw some disguised educational posts, they would believe them deeply because they believed the poster was just a simple netizen. But what they didn't know was, The netizen posting was actually the merchant too. The posted thread was just a disguised soft ad, soft promotion under the guise of science. This method was surprisingly well accepted by them, so it was a tried-and-true trick. In the early morning, Ethan posted threads with different styles and different words, but the same core content onto various portal forums, including local Chicago forums, and activated automatic reply software to simulate replies, hyping up the thread heat. It was already 6 in the morning when all this was done. Ethan, having pulled an all-nighter, finally felt sleepy. He turned off the computer and crawled into bed to sleep. However, while he slept, these posts began to spread quietly across the internet, brewing a new storm. 361 Safety Manager officially entered people's vision and was about to trigger a huge sensation. Chapter 90 early, the next morning, San Jose, California. In a humble office on the 3rd floor of a tech park. It was too early for employees to arrive, but 2 men were already sitting in front of their computer stations. Matt, I found something fun on Tech Haven last night. A slightly chubby young man, about 27 or 28, with handsome features but heavy dark circles under his eyes, stared tightly at the screen, his face full of excitement. He seemed to have discovered a new continent. The Matt he spoke to was sitting next to him, wearing a plaid shirt and glasses, radiating the aura of an engineering nerd. What is it? Found something fun. Matt Thorne leaned his head over, pushed up his glasses, and looked at the screen. Last night a thread on Tech Haven suddenly blew up. A netizen shared a free computer physical exam activity, introducing a powerful antivirus software inside, called something like 361 PC Safety Manager. The name is really good. I already downloaded the program when I was at home. Do you know what technology this thing uses? Zach Bell kept him in suspense. What technology can it be? Aren't antivirus softwares all broad-spectrum signature technologies? Matt shook his head and smiled. All current antivirus software used signature technology, targeting virus mechanism characteristics to identify and kill them. No, Matt, you guessed wrong. This is a new technology, and I know this technology is still in the theoretical experiment stage. I didn't expect someone to commercialize it first. Zach said excitedly. He came from a technical background and was also the CTO of this company. He dabbled in various internet technologies and was very sensitive. When he saw new technology applied, he felt only longing and excitement for it. What new technology? Matt paused. Heuristic scanning technology. Zach articulated each word solemnly. What? Isn't that technology still under research? How could someone have commercialized it? Matt was shocked, shooting up from his seat to squeeze into Zach's station to check carefully. Sure enough, running on his computer was this 361 PC Safety Manager software. And this software was starting a scanning procedure, having already discovered multiple groups of abnormal programs and flagging them as suspected virus programs in red. A gleam flashed in Zach's eyes as he said excitedly, Hee, did you see? Those programs up, there are virus simulations I whipped up casually. New ones, possessing no execution signatures, but they were still identified by this antivirus software. That's why I dare to be certain. This is a heuristic scanning technology. This technology requires a very strong underlying inspection mechanism to implement. This is an epic-making innovation in antivirus software. I bet this software will definitely explode. Matt sucked in a cold breath, exclaiming, the talent pool really is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Heuristic scanning technology applied. Who made and released this software? Zach smiled. You'll know in a second. After the scan ended, a pop-up window appeared. To unlock more functions, please use an activation code. Below was the method to obtain the activation code. Spend a certain amount at Westford Electronics to receive a set of activation codes. Then another web page actively popped up, the portal site of Westford Electronics. It had introductions, prices of computer parts sold, and a main business listed as repair services. Matt watched this series of operations, his eyes lighting up. This business model. Not bad. What company is this Westford Electronics? Never heard of it in the internet industry. Zach, have you heard of it? Zach shook his head. I haven't heard of this company either. Maybe some genius in the Midwest whipped it up to create heuristic scanning technology that counts as extremely badass. I don't think I could do it myself. Matt pondered for a moment and said, we must find time to contact this Westford Electronics. I also have a premonition that this antivirus software will definitely blow up. Maybe. It might touch more users than our IceQ. It could be a dark horse in the future. Zach asked weirdly, Matt, do you want to acquire him? Matt gave a bitter laugh. Acquire? What money do I have to acquire? We're almost out of money to buy servers. The account only has 10 grand left. If we don't expand the servers, in 2 months, we won't be able to support IceQ. IceQ is their instant messenger. Because the number of registrations was increasing every month and online numbers hit new highs daily, Arctic Systems servers were about to crash. If they couldn't solve the financing and expand servers soon, a collapse was only a matter of time. Mentioning this problem, both fell silent. This instant messaging project burned too much money in the early stage, and they couldn't see any return in the short term. They hadn't even figured out the profit model yet. And right now was the height of the dot-com bubble. Financing for internet companies was too difficult. Everyone was afraid of implosion. Arctic Systems also had no clear profit model to date, so they had been rejected by many investors. Matt, if we can't hold on, what do you want to do? Zach suddenly asked in a deep voice. A look of pain appeared on Matt's face, and he sighed heavily. If one day we really can't go on, let's sell the company. This company should be able to sell for 60 or 70,000, right? Zach also laughed bitterly. If we really get to that step, I'm truly unwilling. IceQ was written line by him and other technical staff. It was his whole heart and blood over these years. This project was like his own child. Watching it grow day by day, watching its online users break 100, 1,000, 10,000. He stayed up all night, updating software, fixing bugs, making the software better and better. Whenever someone praised this software, he could proudly tell them he and his colleagues developed it. The goal of the entire Arctic Systems was to be the top instant messaging software in the country. Everyone was striving for this goal. Everyone wanted to be the next internet giant, but ideals were full, reality was skinny. As user numbers increased, they felt less joy and more anxiety. Because the company had no money to add new servers. Currently, there were only two roads. First, succeed in financing, continue to expand servers, and keep operating. Second, sell the company as a package to a company with more financial strength, and they would exit completely. Matt and Zach undoubtedly leaned toward the first financing plan. They wouldn't sell the company unless absolutely necessary. If it really got to that step, there really was no other way. Matt sat back in his seat, looking at the gray sky that hadn't fully brightened yet. His expression was firm. Yeah, I'm not willing to give up just like that either. Zach, I believe our company can survive.